And the magic machine tells me that I'm live. So we've been doing this fairly consistently now. And I've got all of today's streams for J.Scott Garibay added to a playlist so we can just rock on through them. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be handling my coverage of these videos differently. Now, it's been my experience that while I watch the videos during the day and it kind of gives me an idea of what we're going to be covering, it's been my experience that when I finally then Jonas I first in the live chat, welcome to the show, welcome to the proceedings, gold medal onto thee for live chat participation. I'm going to be honest. I'm not saying it's me. I definitely think that when I started, I knew J.Scott Garibay, and I'd definitely been watching him for a while. And I had the idea that Jonaside going for that double gold, on getting that double gold by jumping onto Twitch. Good on you, mate. But you may find that much like James Raggy the Fourth, who decided to do a promo. Tim Frey joining us for the live chat. Decided to do a promo for the playfully titled White Power, a Christ-themed RPG adventure on Easter Sunday. Well, perchance forgetting that Easter this year fell on 4/20, Adolf Hitler's birthday. You may have gone for the gold on what may be maybe not the most fun adventure down the Garibay Thunder Alley. Oh, baby. I mean, but then again, maybe it'll be one of those experiences where on first impression it seemed more dramatic than it'll actually play out. I think that the expression is that escalated quickly. I noted, well, no, but at the same time, the last video that we watched at the end of yesterday's stream, I said, well, this is him spurging out whatever. And then when we watched it, it didn't maybe seem that dramatic to me. So maybe we'll have the same experience. The videos organized chronologically. So we will literally go through today's videos as he uploaded. Now, remember, he doesn't always upload videos as he recorded them, meaning that some of these videos may have been recorded at different days. But my impression is, especially as we get to the end, that we do seem to be on some sort of arc or journey with J.Scott Garibay, and where he may have been putting on some sort of front as we've been doing this Orion Akabe thing. Definitely we are at the point where, at points, he was definitely saying things that we knew. He's always had a reputation. He's earned a reputation as saying things that are not tied to consensus reality. That Orion Okaba was on 72 episodes rather than 27 episodes of Critical Role, that he's been the most important player of all time. Tim Frey with an interesting comment. Hitler would have loved shooting meth on his birthday, Easter, and watching his black fans talk about him. Well, true. Possibly. Mark Tarana. Good afternoon to you, sir. Good afternoon to you, sir. I don't know if I've seen you in one of these live chats. So welcome to the adventure. Woo! What a time to join the on-ramp. Well, let's see. Let's go. Let's get the show on the road. It's already 11:14 by where I'm at. So I'll see you. And as we know, it gets later for me as the videos progress. So it's this kind of thing that we get going on. So let's go. let's go on with the show. As we know, so as I was saying, the tie to reality for Mr. Garibay marked black ice. By the time we're over, you'll be hearing me say the finest AC/DC record, bar none, right? Absolutely. Um, we've had Mr. Garaby's reputation for being not quite tied to reality. I saw him upload a short earlier today where he actually said that Lego that D&D has made Lego the official miniatures of Dungeons and Dragons. To be dead ass, said that Lego minifigs were now the official miniatures of D&D. We know that that's not true. He continues to repeat that no D&D Dungeon Master's Guide has said that any Dungeon Master can take over a PC player character. We know that that's not true. We've stated that. We know that he watches my. This is just the guy. He's now saying that 3,000 people watch him daily. He's got 3,000 subscribers. The guy is. I'm saying that now. Let's see. Hey, fingers crossed. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong. I don't think that I'm wrong. We're going to watch these videos in the order that he uploaded them. I think we're seeing, I'm not happy about it. We're going to go on an adventure, folks, and it's an adventure. It was nice knowing you, because here we go. Share screen. Critical Role. The first video up is entitled Critical Role lead Matthew Mercer exiled Orion Akaba, in my humble opinion, what I learned studying Orion. So we're coming to a kind of summation point regarding this Orion Akaba journey. If you don't know, J.Scott Garibay is on a quest to return Orion Akaba to the Critical Role table. Orion Akaba was on the first 27 episodes of Critical Role. That's a fact. J.Scott Garibay contends that he was actually on the first 72 episodes of Critical Role. That's his cosmic kind of belief regarding a kind of cosmological explanation of things. And we've come to learn that this returning Orion Akaba to the table is about the redemption of fallen characters and fallen people. That was originally what we were being told. Then we were told that he is Orion Akaba, Orion Akaba is him. Orion Akaba represents all fallen American males, all American males who have been, dismissed, and that it also represents, the fallacy of friendship groups. And we've come to learn really stuff that I don't think J.Scott Garibay knows that he's telling us about what this represents. But we've also been told that if Orion Akaba is returned to the table, then the deaths of despair, these are the deaths that occur in America amongst males in the low millions because of alcohol and substance abuse and suicide and, disease, that they will be cut in half. Now, we started covering J.Scott Garibay, and I was very naked. I said, I'm aware of the fact that people cover LOLCOWs on YouTube, and that seems to engender. I was watching J.Scott Garibay anyway. Let's watch it together. Let's have a communal activity. I don't believe in I'm not trying to make fun. I believe in the celebration of, it's like living outsider art. I am neurodivergent. I have been screaming to reach out to him, but at the same time, it's frustrating. He's insulting. He's insufferable. He's mean to his critics. He's also, I will be completely honest, accuses people of being racist and insensitive to racial minorities and LGBTQ disenfranchised people. And at the same time, we've seen it. He is absolutely guilty of those crimes too. I'm guilty of it. I'm a sexist, objectifying son of a bitch too sometimes. I also self-identify as orientation queer. What does that mean? Fuck you. It's none of your business. We're all strange weirdos. I am a super freak to the max. Label me a lol cow. I am happy to wear that signifier and sign. I'd rather be strange and bizarre than to die normal. Who the fuck wants to be that? Fair use, fair use, fair use. The famous line I keep on returning to from Death of a Salesman from Willie Loman, attention must be paid. This is a life. This is a human being, and I am not making fun. I am not here to be a misery merchant, but I am here to beg another human being who is clearly watching what we're watching him. Medication, therapy, diagnosis, and accepting the fact that the brain needs help, whether it's nature or nurture. Some things cannot be helped just by the blood of Jesus Christ. You need help because you, my friend, are fucking spiraling and it is not going to get better. And if you do not get it treated, whatever the hell is going on is going to get worse. And the notion that this is some sort of act or he's playing games, if this dude is some sort of, if we have witnessed the birth of some sort of Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Sir Laurence Olivier, quality actor that has decided, I am not going to go to the silver screen, the small screen, the stage or anything, but rather I am just going to live 100% some sort of long con game of living this role just for the benefit of freaking out people. I don't believe it. It ain't happening. This is a reality. This is a person coming apart. Or maybe I'm wrong. The first thing up, Critical Role lead Matthew Mercer exiled Orion Akaba, in my humble opinion. What I learned studying Orion. History, exclamation point. Attention must be paid. Let's dig in. Fair use, fair use, fair use. And all the shit that goes with that. May God have mercy. May Goddess have mercy. May the Lord, whatever's out there, witness and have mercy on all our souls. And may everyone pray for J.Scott Garibay tonight and his children and my children and y'all's children and all the children who have no one to watch out for them. I swear to God, I'm moved.
Hi, friends. Your pal, Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to talk about Orion Akaba, and we're going to talk about Matthew Mercer. We're going to talk about history and how I recognize the importance of Matthew Mercer's Critical Role exile of Orion Akaba from the Vox Machina table at episode 73 of Vox.
He was exiled after episode 27. The notion that this man still says he was exiled after 73 episodes is just mind-blowing.
Machina. And how that exile, that physical exile of Orion Akaba at episode 73.
Now, even the fact that he's saying the physical exile occurred after episode 73 is inexplicable and shows you that this person is absolutely experiencing some sort of psychological sequela. Because Orion Akaba left the table physically after 27 episodes. Even if you're going to argue that he was present because Tiberius Stormwind, the character, was still pivotal to the plot in some way, or the burial occurred at this point, or he was still buried at the scene or whatever, so he was still titular to the plot. He was not physically present after episode 27. So if you have some sort of intellectual, physiological, or, narrative, argument to say that he was still there in some way, that's one thing. But to say that the physical exile occurred after 73 episodes indicates, and he's previously said that he acknowledged that the physical exit happened after 27 episodes, and that the other episodes were part of this whole narrative argument. Now that he's saying that the physical exile occurred after 73, he's losing it.
Really changed the history of America and the history of Dungeons and Dragons.
To say that an individual leaving this streaming show that was observed by a minuscule amount of the American population, a minuscule amount of the TTRPG participants, subset of that population, is a statement he had not made previously, though he made ridiculous statements about Critical Role, ridiculous statements about Dungeons and Dragons. He's going further into this madness.
So I'm at a special vantage, and I saw this, and I recognized what happened when no one else did, right? And
egomania. I'm at a special vantage point. I'm seeing things that no one else is seeing. Tick off your boxes, folks. Anyone who's taking Psychology 101, get it out. Start ticking off your boxes.
And this is the point. So basically, so we're turning Orion Akaba physically to the Critical Role Exandria Season 4, Episode 1 table at the honored right hand of Matthew Mercer, and that chair, right?
Meanwhile, anyone who sees that thing, I don't know if the players actually sit next to Matt Mercer. So he's imagining a physical scenario that I don't know. I don't watch the show that much. People will have to tell me. But my understanding is the way that I see it portrayed is that Matt Mercer stands like at a podium and he's looking at the players who are kind of like across the stage from him. So he's imagining a scenario that's not even the case. It's like bizarre.
It has stakes for America. It has stakes for American males. It has stakes for Orion. It has stakes for every single Critical Role co-founder, including Orion Akaba, right? The ramifications of it are massive, okay? And I've explained that extensively in this playlist, okay? All right. Today we're going to talk about history. And the way I was able to understand this complex American cultural event is because I understood it historically. It had to be understood from a vantage. It had to be understood that the simple read of this complex American cultural event was wrong. It had to be understood.
It had to be understood that it had to be understood from the vantage point that the simple read was wrong. I mean, it's not word salad. It's just illogical. It's just strange logic.
Understood that this was a cultural event and a uniquely American cultural event.
A uniquely American cultural event. An individual was fired from a streaming show of individuals, voice actors playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons. This is just incredible.
And the history of it needs to be understood. You're like, well, wait, what do you mean by the history? So first, in order to understand the CR exile, the Matthew Mercer exile of Orion Akaba,
even that to attribute it to solely to Matthew Mercer indicates that this is some sort of like personal narrative that we're obviously experiencing. We know that J.Scott Garibay has been kicked out of multiple gaming groups. And the DM is always the executioner, right? It's the DM that always has to be like, I'm sorry, dude. I don't know if this is the gaming group for you. Well, usually. I mean, I don't know if that's occurred every single time. So this is why it's all being laid at the hands of Matthew Mercer, even though we know, but we think we know, it's been reported that, the entire Critical Role team, as well as the powers that be at Geek and Sundry, were the ones that took responsibility for the sacking of Orion Akaba, who did fucked up shit.
You have to understand two histories, right? First, the history of Dungeons and Dragons, okay?
Which you don't understand because you keep on saying that it was created by Gary Gygax when everyone understands it was created by Gary Gygax and David Arneson.
February 7th, 1974, Gary Gygax drops this human improvement engine on the world called.
The fact that you attribute it to one person, the fact that you can't understand the history involves several people. And when there's multiple books written about it that you could educate yourself about, while you're so dedicated to something that you don't educate yourself about, it's just, God bless you. I pray for you. You're a wonderful human being. I don't hate you. I know I come at you hard in some of these videos, a lot of these times, because it can be infuriating. But, God bless you.
Dungeons and Dragons. It comes into the world then, okay? 2015, all right? Matthew Mercer says, okay, this has been a fun kitchen table game played by friends. Let's make a global corporation. Let's sign with a Hollywood millionaire. That's what Felicia Day was at the time. And
regardless, it doesn't even matter. And also, no offense, but by 2015, even if she had like $1 million, $2 million, $2.5 million, or $3 million, I know to people that aren't millionaires, being a millionaire with $1 million, $2 million, or $3 million seems like a big deal. Trust me, if you've got $2.5 million, if you are under the impression that you're like living large and all your financial problems are solved and you don't have to work ever another day in your life, you're incorrect. You are not free from the bounds and the problems of capitalism at all.
Turn this into a profitable business, right? And that's what they did, okay? And then, so once they did that, well, right then, okay, in 2015, there is now the history of Critical Role. And in order to understand this, you need to understand the history of Critical Role. And I'm the only person on the planet who understands it. Why?
I'm the only person on the planet who understands the history of Critical Role. You're not part of Critical Role. You weren't behind the scenes of Critical Role. The people that understand the history of Critical Role are Matt Mercer, Felicia Day, the other people that were there. The fact that you think that you understand the history of Critical Role when you actually have it's from an online university, you have a master's degree, dude. I mean, not that that makes you like, super genius in the millennium, but I'm saying like you're fucking divorced from reality, man. You're going through something, man. This has nothing to do with intelligence. This has to do with the de-evolution of your thinking process.
Well, you're like, Scott, don't critters understand? Not a single critter understands. Not
the absolutist belief systems. Not a single critter that is a fan of Critical Role understands what's going on. You're the only person who understands what's going on. That is manifest delusion. To say that with sincerity, when a little kid says that, it's a little kid saying that. When an adult says that with absolute conviction, it is time to call for psychiatric intervention. You used to refer to someone as your wife. Now you constantly refer to someone who loves you very much. Hey, dude, let me put it out there for you. If you're watching right now, there was a woman I used to refer to as my wife. Then I referred to her as my ex-wife. Now I'm lucky enough to refer to her as my ex-wife wife. Right? I don't know who you're referring to, but I know that, things change. But it's okay. And there can be redemption arcs, but it's not Orion Okaba that needs to go back to the table. It's you who need to go and get fucking help. People are telling you in your live chat, and they're not being nice about it. I get it, but you have to listen. This is not going to get better.
A single critter alive understands the history of Critical Role. Why? Wait, what? How could critters who buy books and watch little documentaries and movies and go meet them in person, how could they not understand the history? Because Matthew Mercer demanded they not understand the history, and said, you all must remain ignorant. You must not speak truth. You must not have a full knowledge. You must shut up about Orion Akaba.
That is a manifestation. That is a manifestation of an emotional discharge over a situation that does not demand that level of emotion from you. You are not attached to this product. You are not attached to this event, but it's okay. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm noting for you the fact that what you just demonstrated is a behavior pattern that is known to people in the mental health profession. Okay. You're somewhere on the, spectrum. Okay. I've got classifications. I know people with classifications. You know what I mean? It's okay. But dude, you need help.
You are never allowed to speak of him. And they shut it down and they silenced it for a decade. And I want you to learn this very carefully. And I want you to.
And dude, if you're an evangelical Christian, even regardless of you being an evangelical Christian, when you're in that level of emotional excitement and you're operating a motor vehicle, it's exactly like operating a motor vehicle while high on meth. It literally is. If a person is in a manic state, whether in a manic state of joy or their manic state is manifested as a manic state of anger, you're driving like it's like your brain is like on cocaine or methamphetamine. You're a danger behind that wheel. You shouldn't be making these videos because talking about these things elicits a very high emotional level in you, and you're not safe to be behind the wheel when you're talking about this stuff. If you want to make these videos, okay, for the love of Jesus, do them. You made the Andrew Yang videos back in the day in a domicile, in a house, in a room. Just go to a park and walk around with like a handy cam or whatever, or just holding on to your phone. There's no reason to put other people in danger. And I'm not trying to hurt your feelings when I say that, dude. You're really, really not in a very good emotional state to be driving like this.
Seal this in concrete in your mind. For 10 years, people have said that Orion Akaba was the villain. You want to know who's the villain? Whoever silences the conversation, that's the villain. Okay? Orion Akaba didn't ask for silence, right?
Orion Akaba may not have asked for anything. This is not really about Orion Akaba. You're thinking of things that are not really happening. They're happening in your brain. You're imagining this stuff. You don't know what occurred between Orion Akaba and Matthew Mercer. You don't have the capacity. You're imagining things. It's conjecture.
Oh, critical role. Nobody's allowed to talk about Orion Akaba. The reason why is we're going to protect him. You're not protecting him. You're protecting the fact that you, Critical Role, have been using his original character, his original art, and his original labor every single day for a decade to make yourselves millionaires.
They're not, though. They're not. They used the character a few times and then they moved on. It's, you're just, this is not important. This is not happening, bro.
That's what was really being done. The silence on every Critical Role platform about Orion Akaba had nothing to do with his protection. It had everything to do with his isolation and with silencing the narrative.
UFO Joe, check this out. Akaba means to finish on the planet in Portuguese. That is fascinating.
The history for all critters, right? Who listen to Matthew.
Oh wow. Okay, I'm out. Good to catch up, friends.
I don't
Mark,
listen to
tapping out already, bro. Oh my God.
To VR, to Vox Machina, Mighty Nine, and Bell Cells, right? Because that's all Orion Akaba content. That's the reason to listen to it, right? And so basically, you arrive at this point where they silenced it and they made everybody casuals of like a critter is an ignorant casual when it comes to Critical Role's history because they obeyed Matthew Mercer and didn't talk about all the history. There was a special lacuna, right? There was a space in it. There was a space, an empty space in the center, right? that no
We just like, we could free associate as like, Jungian analogies, like for days we start talking about lacunas, right?
one was allowed to look into except me, right? And I did.
No one could look into it except him. Dude, brother, like, I'm like, do you hear the change in my tone? Like, after watching these videos, like, we're going to be up until 3:00 in the morning. There's just like no fucking doubt about it. No one will be at the end. I know that I'll be like here with like one person watching, myself, but it's unbelievable.
Did in more detail than anyone has ever looked at, right? Super Geek Mike used to be like the premier expert in the world on Orion Comet. He ain't now.
And he was just the premier expert on. I guess if he's still watching Critical Role, that was his deal. There's like a whole bunch of people who watch Critical Role. Super Geek Mike made like 1 or 2 videos on why we need to talk about Tiberius Stormwind. That was literally when the dude got kicked off of like Critical Role. That was like 10 years ago, man.
Now, or like he did a couple videos a few years ago.
Yeah, because that was when the topic you could talk about it. I tried to look at this research on Orion Akaba. You know what I mean? Like, there's no research to be done. Like, when I peeled back the layers, it wasn't good research. It wasn't like good stuff to find out, because it's not like after he left Critical Role, he went on to some amazing career. He did a couple of things, but he also did a lot of shitty things.
I've continued to learn because I'm inactive.
You didn't continue to learn everything. What you don't realize, Scott, is the things that I'm like, oh my God, it's like, and it's happening to me too, right? I'm like talking like he's here in the room, because you know what it is? I'm desperate to reach out to the guy. I empathize. I sympathize. I want him to be okay, but I don't know that he's watching now. So I'll talk. I talked to you. I talked to him. I talked to the royal we. Right? It's human tragedy. He thinks he knows the history. He thinks he's doing research. He thinks he's learned something. But everything that he's learned is just the product of his imagination.
Conversation with critters who are upset, and they're upset because
he's not having conversations with critters. He's talking about people that in the comment section, and he's going to have fantasies about that. He previously told us that he knew that everyone was telling him that he's wrong. He's going to go back and forth. I'm going
to ignorant casualness does not collides with the brick wall of information that I've erected.
The brick wall of information, their casualness collides with the brick wall of information that I've erected. Oh my God. Do you know what I mean? I need to have sex with everything that I know about J.Scott Garibay's psychosis. Does anyone understand what I'm saying right now? You know what I mean? I need a gorgeous, like 180-pound Jungian transsexual therapist that I can make love to work out all of my feelings about all of what I know and need to unlearn about J.Scott Garibay's madness. Can anyone relate to that? No? I feel like Maynard from Tool could relate to that for some reason. You know what I mean? Holy fucking
that's
shit.
Why they're upset. And so, this is where we arrive. Okay. So there is, and what's really wild is, in order to understand the Matthew Mercer exile of Orion Akaba and why this event is so important for Americans, for American males, for the D&D community, for Orion Akaba, and for every Critical Role co-founder, including Orion Akaba, you have to understand.
He mentions Orion Akaba twice. I wonder if he notices that.
D&D history, and most people don't understand that.
Most people don't understand D&D history. Now you know what I mean? We're just like circling around. And folks, this is video 1. And as we go on, just the videos that he uploaded today, we have to pay attention to the shirts. We need to figure out if these videos are because it could be possible that these are videos that are made on different days that are uploaded like in sequence. So, and that'll be part of the puzzle too. And if people are thinking that that means that he's some sort of troll genius, if you think that, then you're insane.
And you're like, well, what most people understand Dungeons and Dragons. No, there are literally no less than 30 academic books written on the subject of D&D's history.
Have you read any of them? Because for someone who's aware of the fact that there's 30 academic books written on D&D history, you keep on mentioning Gary Gygax putting this engine of human improvement onto the face of planet Earth and never mentioning David fucking Arneson.
And then you need to be aware of Critical Role's history. And almost nobody on the planet is aware of Critical Role's history, because the people who would be most interested in it were forced by Matthew Mercer to not look at actual Critical Role history and to believe a myth that he had crafted, right?
Wow.
Filled with lacuna rather than truth, right?
Filled with lacuna rather than truth.
And so basically then you reach this point, right?
God,
and then the other thing is many people who are aware of Dungeons and Dragons history, they're all grognards. They despised Matthew Mercer and didn't want anything to do with critters. So there's nobody on this planet other than me who knows the history of both. And that's why I was able to see this truth.
There's no one on this planet other than me who knows the history or the truth. God damn. We are lock the doors to the bell towers, lock the doors to the guns and the ammunition
that other people are missing, right? And so this has to be understood culturally, and it has to be understood historically.
Uh-huh.
And that's why I'm the only person who realizes that the only just, right, good path forward is for Matthew Mercer to extend the invitation and say, we're very sorry, Orion Akaba, please return to the table and help us bring our critical roll numbers out of the toilet in which they dropped into because you were not in Critical Role.
Now, remember, this is in order to construct this thing that Critical Role's toilets fell into the toilet after Orion Akaba left, because Orion Akaba actually left after 27 episodes, at which point the meteoric, rise, of Critical Role to being what it was. Critical Role's numbers have gone up and down, and there are people that speculate that Critical Role there are people that speculate that Critical Role may not return in the form that it once was. There's questions about when it does return, if it will return with Dungeons and Dragons rules, or if it will return with their own, Mary Popinjay, cozy TTRPG, Forest Elf rules. I forget what the hell the name of their system is, or whatever, that was supposed to be the D&D killer when the whole OGL crisis happened that they sat on for too long. I don't know all this shit. You know what I mean? Like, my whole thing with this thing is that for the same reason that the new D&D didn't go, gangbusters like everyone says, I think that, just like the 80s nostalgia loop has run its course. And so you're just like at the end that we're going to see the nostalgia loop for TTRPGs is going to be, you're going to see like the 90s come around, which was a fallow time for TTRPGs. There was TTRPG stuff going on with Vampire the Masquerade and stuff, but it wasn't like a heyday period for TTRPGs. You're going to see a whole bunch of stuff fold up shop. You know what I mean? I think the time of Critical Role being Critical Role is kind of gone, done. I think the new season of Stranger Things is going to drop. I think people are going to think that it's going to be some big big deal. It's not going to be. The leftover Stranger Things fans are going to, go tune in. They're going to see that, what's her face, Winona Ryder, is even more older than she was last time. It is what it is. But hey,
season 3, and it was utter garbage, right? And the numbers were garbage.
Okay. Anyway, let's let me go to the live chat for a second, just check in with you guys and see what's going on here. Picking up, go hear what's going on here. Here we go. There you go. We have Mark Teron going back a little bit. But going back a little bit, half an hour into the live chat, so let's take about 74 Gel Baker Bust. Hey, Mark, nice to meet you. Mark, damn, his car camera has that wide cinematic view tonight. Normal, a setting on the washer. What the hell? 45 minutes later, J.Scott Garibay looks a little like Hank Williams Jr. in the screenshot. It's pretty good. Goddamn, someone get him a self-driving car. He does. Who is this guy? Mark Toronto. Who is this guy? Hadrian72, welcome to the live chat. I went back and rewatched some of his really old videos. He hints at some weird ideas at times, but just generally comes across as just a super nerdy dude. From an Australian point of view, the car is self-driving. Hadrian72, but it's driving in the wrong side of the road. There seems to be a real break that starts when he first floated the D&D as a human improvement engine about 7 years ago, and the flight from reality has only accelerated more recently. Cycles and stages. 7 years ago, it starts, and then it's upticks. This is an entire world I know nothing about, comments Mark Toronto. Tim Frey, someone must have dosed JSG with about 10,000 doses of acid while he was watching Critical Role. Never trust a prankster. Or Matt Mercer. Hadrian72, it's a hell of a rabbit hole, Mark. It said Mark Toronto, okay, I'm out. Good to catch up, friends. There you go, I'm out. Then we have UFO Joe told us that Cabo means to finish, to put an end to in Portuguese. Can't make this stuff up. Jay's Secret Knowledge Garibay. Tim Frey, critters are under Matt's spell. This guy ain't faking. This is a mental illness. It's absolutely mental illness. Hadrian72, I'm legitimately impressed by his use of lacuna. Unscripted and Unchained RPG review. Here we go. Scott gets kicked off of more tables than anyone I've ever heard of in the hobby. And I know that you ran into him at the Philly Game Expo. He did like 5 videos about meeting you alone. He refuses to acknowledge that Orion Acaba was fired from CR for stealing from charity money for their charity. That was the real reason. Gary the father, Orion the son. I'm waiting to see who gets to be the Holy Spirit in this drama. Wow. Unscripted, Unchained RPG reviews. It won't come back with D&D. It will use Daggerheart for season 4. Daggerheart, that was the name I was looking for. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Folks, we're going on. That was just video 1. It's going to get worse. Spoiler, Tim Frey talking about the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. Get ready for it, okay? Because we're going to get deep into the hero worship of Orion Acaba. Oh, hold on. Let me do this. Mechanics. The next video up. We might have to start going a little bit faster, considering we've already been here for 42 minutes and only got through one of his videos. Oh my God. Here we go. Unscripted, Unchained reviews. Thank you for coming by. You're amazing. You grace us with your presence. Here we go.
Friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and Orion Acaba and Matthew Mercer and the Matthew Mercer exile of Orion Acaba from Critical Role that happened in 2015. The first year of Critical Role, and why this is so important. And today, what I'm talking about is why I've been able to identify this as the highest stake American cultural event of 2025, returning Orion Acaba to the Critical Role.
Highest stake cultural event of 2025, not the presidential election, not the tariffs, not trying to get political, right? Not the thing that's going on with deportations, not Signalgate. Not the death of Pope Francis. Peace be upon you. It's technically not Americans. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's this.
Alexandria, Season 4, Episode 1, physical table at the honored right hand of Matthew Mercer, and why there's stakes for America, for American males, for Orion Acaba, for every single Critical Role co-founder, including Ryan Akaba, and for the D&D community. And so I have this different take, and I'm going all in on this and saying, like, literally millions of lives depend on Orion Akaba returning to Critical Role table.
And millions of lives depend on him returning to the Critical Role table, notwithstanding the fact that I don't know if millions of people watch Critical Role, right?
I can put in, man, Scott, ain't that a lot to put on Critical Role? I am allowed.
Watch this. Ain't that a lot to put on Critical Role? You would think that's a lot to put on Critical Role, considering that they don't really have the numbers or whatever. But watch this reasoning.
To put that on Critical Role, because they're like, we're a progressive activist company, right? Like,
we're a progressive activist company. That's why I can put it on them. If they're going to say they're a progressive activist company, that's what you can put on. Then I could say, like, hey, well, if people say that they're, Christians, you can put that on them or whatever. I'll also say, but it's got nothing to do with being progressive or whatever. But folks, if you're joining us, this is our, we've been following J.Scott Garibay for a while. He's previously said he's putting people on blast for saying they're false progressive allies to minority groups and to the LGBT community. But then he'll flip around and say he, as an American, only cares and thinks that only American history matters, and that American memory of events matters more than the actual lived experience of people in other countries. So it's like, you're the one who's basically, being like a false ally to people. I'm not trying to be hard to the guy at this point because he's obviously spinning out, but you know what I mean? It is what it is.
They're not sitting on the sidelines going, oh, hey, we're just a bunch of, we're like, global hedge fund, and, we're here to break things, they're not like, they're like, oh, we're allies. We're allies to many different marginalized groups. They're saying they're progressive, right?
So if you say that you're progressive, it's on you, and it's your responsibility to save millions of people by rehiring a person who just happens to be a person of color, because someone out there thinks that returning that person of color is going to save millions of lives, which it won't. But
if you're progressive, you don't get to just take somebody who's in marginalized groups and say, oh, we're exiling him, and he's never allowed at the table. And what's really wild is
that makes no sense at all. I got to tell you something. As a progressive person, guess what? I've employed people. I'm a business owner. I currently don't have any full-time employees. That's just the nature of my business. My business has been restructured over time. I don't need them anymore. But at one time, I operated with a staff of up to three. I had a staff at one time of up to 4 people. Right. Guess what? They were all minorities. Several of them, quit, over time for different reasons. They went to different jobs. I'm not saying that I'd never had anyone quit acrimoniously or didn't like me, whatever. But many people, I had to fire many people over time. Many of them clicked off several boxes. Do you know what I mean? And that's not that I wasn't an ally or didn't care about them. It was just, they were, they were lousy employees. You know what I mean? You let people go. And sometimes it was just budget cuts. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
They have exiled Orion Akaba. And this is the part that's completely unprecedented. Okay, they're like, hey, this is a bad guy. This is a villain over here. We're severing him from, Critical Role cannot stand near him anymore. We can't be associated anything with him. Now, here's his original art. Here's his original character. Here's his original labor. And for 10 years, used it to promote their own wealth. And literally, not only did not disconnect themselves from it, but never allow Tiberius Stormwind to be anything but captured by them. Right? All of his work. Orion Akaba's work. So that's the part.
That's not true, because Orion Akaba did do something with Tiberius Stormwind, or attempted to do something with Tiberius Stormwind independently. And my understanding is that Matt Mercer nor Critical Role did anything to shut that down. It just didn't get off its feet because Orion Akaba developed a reputation of doing Kickstarters and not bringing them to fruition, just taking people's money and then doing nothing with it. So it is what it is, brother.
That's why this is so unprecedented, and why after 10 years of decisions by Critical Role, there's no path forward for Critical Role but to return it to the table.
Press X to doubt.
So what we're going to talk about today is, how did I see this and no one else did, right? And the reason why is this is an American cultural event with massive complexity. And
so no one saw it but you, because no one saw it but you because it was a massive cultural event, right, or something like that. That mean you need help, brother.
And the only way to understand it is to understand it from a vantage, to understand that the simple read on complex situations is always wrong.
The simple read on complex situations is always wrong, but this is not a complex situation. You're just inventing reasons to explain why everyone disagrees with you.
And then to understand it culturally, historically, and today we talk about mechanically. So this can only be understood mechanically. Part of
this can only be understood mechanically. No, it's actually, you ever heard of Occam's razor? The simplest explanation is probably the right one. The dude got fired from a gig because he was fucked up the gig.
This story, part of this complex cultural event, American cultural event, is the mechanics of.
It's not a complex cultural event. It occurred 5 years. Why the fuck do I keep on going round and round with this shit?
And not just the rules mechanics, but literally the mechanics of the intellectual property, both, right? This is astoundingly complex. So
it's not, dude, but I might just skip over this one. I'm just going to speed it up further.
How are the mechanics of this involved? Well, first of all, the mechanics of this are marinated into this story, right? And the reason why is Matthew Mercer is not simply a dungeon master.
Oh, here we go.
He's a dungeon master who dungeon mastered so hard and so perfectly when he dungeon mastered Orion Akaba and literally no one else, right? That he was written into D&D canon, right?
He dungeon mastered Orion Akaba so well that he was written into D&D canon. Of course, we've been over this. J.Scott Garibay doesn't understand how D&D canon works. He believes that Tiberius Stormwind is somehow in D&D canon. He's not, though, but this is just, we can't. My brother, who's a psychiatrist, always impressed upon me and continues to have to impress upon me the following edict, primarily because I constantly get myself involved in, trying to make sense of douchebags like this guy. I apologize. Human beings like this guy online and on YouTube. You cannot beat crazy in an argument. Right?
He's one of the few dungeon masters where they're like, oh, you build a character class that's now a canon D&D character class, Bloodhunter. Oh, you built Exandria. Yeah, millions of dungeon masters have built ridiculously jank, heartbreaker fantasy worlds. Yours is canon. We're literally writing it into D&D canon. Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, Call to the Nether, right? So part of the story is mechanics, right? And then finally,
but those aren't mechanics. That's like what do they call it? Fluff. You know what I mean? It's just window dressing. It's not. Those aren't mechanics.
The mechanics of player character versus non-player character. So player character. Tiberius Stormwind is an original character. Tiberius Stormwind is original art. He is a player.
Again, this is also J.Scott Garabay's personal understanding of making distinctions between original character, making this artificial new distinction between what's understood commonly in the role-playing game community of player character, and then adding in this new characteristic of an original character, an OC, like as it's understood in anime, worlds and, fan art and stuff. And mixing up the two. Whatever happened in Critical Role was clearly understood by the participants in Critical Role as some sort of contractual thing. If Orion Akaba had some sort of right to Tiberius Stormwind contractually to own that intellectual property, then he would have legally done something and acted in some way post his dismissal after episode 27, and Matt Mercer and the rest of those guys would have made no mention of Tiberius Stormwind again, right? They would have just, what happened to Tiberius? Nothing, right? They would have just moved on. Percy, right? Someone else would have just come in. Who are you? Don't you remember? I'm Julius Stormwind. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, Julius. So we missed you with your signature blue scaly skin and your proud robes of bronze. What have you been up to? Biberius Bormwind. You know what I mean? They were just done that. But the fact that they did what they did, and then Orion Akaba on the side independently was doing things with Kickstarters with Tiberius Stormwind and was planning some sort of visual novel or something on the side, as I know. They had some sort of deal.
Character, right? Now, what ends up happening is episodes 21 through 27, Orion Akaba controls Tiberius Stormwind directly. Okay, on episode 28 through episode 27, on episode 28 through episode 72, the person so Matthew Mercer steps up and takes control.
Tiberius Stormwind did not appear in all those episodes as this guy J.Scott Garibay tries to get that. We've been over that. I'm not going to keep on doing this.
Of Tiberius Stormwind. Now, here's where it gets very interesting from a mechanical perspective. Every single edition of the Dungeon Master Guide is shockingly clear. It says,
we've been over this. You are losing your fucking mind. Hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on. I don't give a shit if people see my boxes. I don't give a fuck. Listen to me, you fucking young man. Okay? From Rule Cyclopedia to the current issue of the Dungeon Master's Guide, it is not shockingly clear. First of all, the new Dungeon Master's Guide that Matt Mercer actually was a consultant on now officially makes it a co-op play part of the fucking deal. Okay? Here we go. Hold on. We've been over this. No, we're going over this again. Hold on. Hold on. I apologize about this. This shit. Where is this crap? Getting pissed off. Oh, where's this fucking shit? Oh, I have to look this up in the fucking index now. It's like a DMPC. But you're wrong, sir. You're wrong. Now it's going to disappear on me. DM Controlled Adventure, DMPC, 23. Oh, my God. 23 Skidoo. You're going crazy. I'm sorry. I apologize. But you're driving me crazy. Group size, small groups, page 23. DM Controlled Adventure. You can make an adventure character of your own, sometimes called the DMPC, a Dungeon Master player character to accompany the party. This is a rewarding way for you to roleplay with your friends while they're exploring your world. But keep in mind that you'll have to run this NPC in combat. Be sure to keep the player characters in the spotlight and don't take away the player's agency by having your character make decisions for the group. NPC party members. You can add non-player characters, NPCs to the adventuring party. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go. Absent players, page 24. When one of your players is absent, what do you do with that player's character? Consider the following options. Fading to the back. Narrative contrivance. Substitute player. With the absent player's consent, have another player run the missing player's character or run the character yourself if you feel you can do so. Whoever runs the character will need a copy of that character's character sheet and should strive to keep the character alive and use that character's resources wisely. That is the current thing. So the notion that every copy of the DM's guide, Dungeon Master's Guide, makes it shockingly clear is falsified. You're wrong. Stop saying that because you're fucking wrong. And you're the asshole that keeps on saying that this is the fucking current issue, blah, blah, blah. You're the grand champion DM guy, Dungeon Dragons guy. But that is the current one, so a lot of people weren't into that. So here's the Rule Cyclopedia from 1991. And I'm not going to do any of this anymore, but it says it too. Trust me. You're going to fucking trust. I'm losing my fucking mind over here with you keep on saying shit that isn't real. You can't even read a fucking book. You're not going to be fucking asshole. You know why I'm screaming, dude? You know why I'm screaming? Because I feel sorry for you. Because you're losing your fucking mind as we fucking watch him. And this is only video 2. And you're fucking gonna, people are gonna see this is video number 2. You're gonna continue to lose your fucking mind as these are today's videos alone. What are you gonna do day 3? You know what? If you come back tomorrow and make a whole bunch of videos where you're like, you know, fit as a fiddle and acting like, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm acting completely normal. I'm going to be like, fuck you. Anyway, the DM can take over player characters and they can retire characters. This is what it said it in here. Everybody knows that I'm right. That I read it before. I'm not going to lose more time. The fuck am I looking at? Now I'm going to fucking find it. Now I have to fucking find it. PCs. It's retiring people. Hold on. I got to calm down. Holy shit. Ay. I'm losing my fucking mind. I know. My God. Retiring characters. Oh my God. I can't believe I let this guy give me this upset. And I'm trying to be on his side, right? I'm trying to be on his side. I don't know why why it's this thing that always gets me. It's because I know that he's aware of me making this point, and he keeps on saying this shit. Do you know what I mean? It's something. It's also something to do with memories of my father losing his fucking mind. Do you know what I mean? It's the experience of telling somebody who's losing their mind, no, that's not the case. And having them, I hear the broken voice. No, we're going. We have to pack the bags. Dad, we're not packing the bags. You know, because my dad was a very, very abusive person, and I had forgiven him. I had to work so hard to forgive him. And then after doing all this work to forgive him and accepting the fact that I couldn't get an apology from him after all this shit, that he was really, 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 really an abusive person, that I then had to, like, you know, while spoon feeding him and shit, had to deal with this fucking, like, all this crap with, like, the fucking, we have to stop and you have to go and get the bags. What bags? No, we're not getting bags, Dad. We're not getting bags. You have to get the bags. I'm not getting any bags, Dad. There's no bags to get. We're in your room. This is your room. This is where we're staying. There's no bags to get. Get the bags. Get the bags. Shut up. Shut up. There's no bags to get. Here we go. Retiring characters. For a variety of reasons, a player or the DM may decide that a character should be retired. A player may lose interest in a character. The DM might then make the character an NPC and have him reappear during later adventures. That character might still rise in levels, but at a lesser rate of experience progress. Discarded characters who were fully developed in the past are ideal for new players who want to play established characters in a campaign. The DM may decide that a character is no longer suitable for a particular campaign due to an excess of money, items, or power, or some other reason. Before retiring the characters, the DM should discuss the problem with the player and try to find alternatives. Remember that a properly played but too powerful character may be suitable for another DM's campaign. The point is this: the DM can retire characters. So as an alternative to J.Scott Garibay's contention that Matt Mercer did some sort of cultural evil and damn horrible thing by yada 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 telling Orion Akaba that he could no longer be the great, wonderful Tiberius Stormwind or whatever. Not the Pope dying, not John Cena winning the 17th world champion. So Ryan, even from okay, here we go. Adrian 72. Millions of lives depend on USA, but I don't hear Scott talking about that. Why would he? Because they went overseas. No needs to different. Okay, here we go. What does it even mean for something to be D&D canon? Like Greyhawk is the default setting in the new DMG. I'm not using it, so Greyhawk isn't canon to my game. None of this makes sense. Well, they could just infinite the character according to GSG. Yeah, I mean the whole thing is just. I apologize. I'm losing. You know what I mean? But you see, I'm okay with that because I had a personal breakthrough, right? When it's exactly when J.Scott Garibay said, I'm Orion Akaba, like I think I just had a personal breakthrough. Like, why do I get upset at J.Scott Garibay? Right? It's because, you know what I mean? Obviously, there's something left over of like, why won't you I originally when I started this, I was like, I would love to play with J.Scott Garibay. And he's so crazy and he's so nutty. And now that I'm seeing him like absolutely on some sort of downward spiral, it's like, no, this is supposed to be cute. You're supposed to just be, cute. And I'm supposed to be able to tell you that, you're losing you're just wrong. And then we're supposed to meet and I'm supposed to reach out to you and you're supposed to be like, okay, I'll change. And you're supposed to get better. You're not supposed to go in a downward spiral. I'm supposed to reach out to you and I'm supposed to be able to save you. I'm supposed to be able to save you, right? And you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And it's like, you can't save them, dude.
At no point, it says Dungeon Masters control every NPC. Dungeon Masters control every deity. Dungeon Masters control the weather. They control every monster. They control every single thing in Dungeons & Dragons except player characters. They do not control player characters. That is the part where their world is not theirs. And
well, we just falsified that claim, but we understand exactly what's going on. You have a problem ceding autonomy to other members of the group, other players at the table, and most importantly, to another dungeon master. And that's probably why you get kicked out of all the other tables.
Any player character at any time can cut the Dungeon Master story in half, right? Like they can send it careening off in a direction the Dungeon Master never expected. Not only can they do it, they should, right?
They should do it.
Dungeon Master should never be aware of how their campaign ends because there are 5 player characters in their game, in their Dungeons and Dragons experience that can take it in a direction
there are 5. The fact that he says that there are 5, like there's always 5 players, like that's the default. Like there's like a game of chess always involves 2 players, right? But a game of D&D can involve a dungeon master and 1 player, 2 players. There's discussions about what the ideal player size, party size might be, but the fact that J.Scott Garibay just threw out 5 players, and we know that he calls them that there's a dungeon master, and the players are all called dragon masters, and he has colors for them. There's the gold dragon master, the red dragon master, the blue dragon master, the black. You know what I mean? And he probably has ideas about what they're all supposed to do.
We've never expected, and that they cannot control. Right now, at this point, Matthew Mercer thought that he took Tiberius Storm over. That's not correct, right? What he did was he returned Orion Akaba back to the table for episodes 28 through episode 72.
So now Matthew Mercer thought that he got rid of Orion Akaba, but actually didn't. He actually returned Orion Akaba to the table. This is full on delusion, right? We have now seen J.Scott Garibay even now change J.Scott Garibay's past take on things. Dude, this guy is going off the ship has left. We are now watching the guy go out to stream.
Every time any player action, any action for Tiberius Stormwind is taken, that is Orion. All of that belongs to Orion in both the literal and figurative sense. And Orion Akaba never physically leaves the table until episode 73. It is not correct that Orion Akaba is not physically at the table from episodes 28 to 73 to 70.
That is a full-on delusional statement. I mean, if you are Lacan, right? If you're Derrida, if you're Michel Foucault, and you have some sort of deconstructionist argument to make about Orion Okaba never left the table, when Matthew Mercer does this, that, the other thing, that's one thing. That's not what's happening here. J.Scott Garibay is just in full on, in my estimation, full on absolute psychological, whether you want to classify it as mania, whether you want to classify it as breakdown or whatever, he's lost his mind.
Matthew Mercer physically returns Orion Okaba to the table, right? By taking actions for Tiberius Stormwind. And the reason why is Matthew Mercer has no.
Now, bear in mind that Tiberius Stormwind was only acted out by Matthew Mercer in, like, to my understanding, 2 episodes for 2 battles, right? So what J.Scott Garibay is saying is really fucking Looney Tunes. It's totally fucking Looney Tunes.
No right to do that. This is the mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons. And
it's not the mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons. So it's not even supported by the mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons that J.Scott Garibay claims to know so well. The dude has gone fucking out to call. It's time for an intervention.
It is mechanics that are only understood and only obeyed by somebody who is reading the Dungeon Master Guide hermeneutically.
Reading it hermeneutically? Dude, you can't read the Dungeon Master Guide hermeneutically because hermeneutics only applies to the Bible. Dude. I need Pope Francis. Jesus Christ, Mother Mary, give me strength. I need a Holy Ghost intervention. I swear to God. Hermeneutics it's something to do with the study of the Bible. This guy is talking about, and we say hello to Horse Lover Fat, who says, dropped in just in time to hear CW scream, "You are losing your fucking mind." Perfect timing. All right. We have Mac joining us. I discovered this guy the other week. This guy is unbearable. Laugh my ass off. So I've never seen someone look at all the facts that you can research yourself and go, nope, that didn't happen. Laugh my ass off. He's just changing the meaning of words now. Absolutely. The hermeneutics, in case you're curious. Oh God damn it. I can't. And what's crazier? Him doing what he's doing or me, oh God. Hermeneutics definition. Hermeneutics is the theory and methodology of interpretation, especially the interpretation of biblical texts, wisdom literature, and philosophy. Okay, I guess it could apply to other things. Wisdom literature and philosophical texts as necessary. Hermeneutics may include the art of understanding and communication. Oh my God, I gotta look this shit up. Okay. Methodology of interpretation. Hermeneutics may include art of understanding and communication. Oh my God. Modern hermeneutics includes both verbal and nonverbal communication, as well as semiotics, presuppositions, and pre-understandings. Hermeneutics has been broadly applied in the humanities, especially in law, history, and theology. Hermeneutics was initially applied to the interpretation or exegesis of scripture and has been later brought into questions of general interpretation. Okay, so fuck me in the ass. Thank you. I apologize. The term hermeneutics and exegesis are sometimes used interchangeably. Hermeneutics is a wider discipline which includes written, verbal, and nonverbal communication. Oh my God. Etymology. Okay. Oh God damn it. What is this? The early usage of hermeneutics places it within the boundaries of the sacred. A divine message must be received with implicit uncertainty regarding its truth. This ambiguity is an irrationality. It is a sort of madness that is inflicted upon the receiver of the message. Only one who possesses a rational method of interpretation, i.e. a hermeneutic, could determine the truth or falsity of this message. So what the hell does the word mean? Philosophical, oh God damn it. Modern hermeneutics. Can I just get? I'm just go back and get definition. Let's see. We got this hermeneutic. Oh God, hermeneutics definition. Hermeneutics is the study of the general principle of biblical interpretation for Jews and Christians. Okay. The study of interpretation. And meanwhile, FYI, in case you're curious, we've already established that the dude doesn't know what the fucking D&D rules actually are. So, yeah. Anyway, as you were saying, Mr. Garibay,
who is aware of the study of interpretation, right? And is reading the Dungeon Master Guide hermeneutically. And I've done.
And you haven't, because you didn't even know that the current rule book, Dungeon Master Guide, discounts what you said about the DMs controlling PCs. So, yeah. Oh, and by the way, go get diagnosed and get some medication, or you're going to end up in troubled space. Sorry.
Videos on this previously. All right. Okay. There we go. Right. The other thing is, so this is all about Dungeons and Dragons. And in addition to that, the reason why
this has nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons whatsoever. This has so little to do with Dungeons and Dragons, it's not even fucking funny.
Orion Combat is so important is it used to be that the social aspects of Dungeons and Dragons were not part of the rules. That changed recently.
It used to be that the social aspects of Dungeons and Dragons were not part of the rules. That changed recently.
In Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, Session 0 was put into place.
Tasha's Cauldron of Everything was published like, I don't know how many years ago. It was like published like not quite a decade ago, but it was a while ago.
That is now a mechanic within Dungeons and Dragons, right? And so at that point, that one of the mechanics and in the Dungeon Master Guide, it is saying you should be respectful of every player. You shouldn't make people uncomfortable. This should be a safe space, right? All those things are literally written into the Dungeon Master Guide.
Yeah, okay. Now bear that in mind, because he's later going to go on in later videos and say that the reason that Orion Akaba is so important is because he doesn't do any of that stuff.
Right. But Orion Akaba comes along and says all that's bullcrap.
It was published in 2020, 5 years ago.
Right. I can tell you right now, every single one of those statements is a shocking, bold, useless lie. Right.
Wait. You studied it hermeneutically. Orion Akaba says that stuff is all a shocking lie. The hell? That we shouldn't be respectful to other players at the table? That Session 0 isn't important? So you're saying that Orion Akaba obliviates D&D canon? The hell are you talking about? You're not making any fucking sense, brother.
Right? And the reason why is the most compelling narrative ever told at any Dungeons and Dragons table is Vox Machina.
That's your opinion. I could give two shits about Vox Machina. I think the whole Critical Role thing is an embarrassment. I don't like Critical Role because when people think about Critical Role and those douchebag, geeky, lame, I'd rather my losers be losers than be those like pseudo losers that are like halfway dragged between, like it's like they took a slider on like those video games where you can make your characters and you can like go them like from fat to skinny, and it's like, or like a Sims, and you like have a total fucking loser on this thing, like an actual role-playing game player, and then you have like a super hot alt model on the other side, and then someone puts it like dead in the middle, and that's where you get like these fucking loser like Critical Role players. You know what I mean? They look like LA fucking, they look like people that like the elite managers, like they have a conference for like the top managers of the top hot topics on the East Coast, and they're the people that show up. They fucking suck. People act like Matt Mercer's the rock star of role-playing games, and I go, that's why role-playing games are for fucking losers. Matt Mercer looks like dog shit. You know what I mean? He really does. He looks like a fucking idiot.
Period. End of sentence. It's never been surpassed by anything. Not Mighty Nine. not Bell's House, and certainly not by any other live action play. And
all those other things suck too.
And Orion Akaba has become the most important player in Dungeons and Dragons history because he's the only one who is pointing to the truth, right?
He's the only one that's pointing to the truth. You are on your own personal mind trip. God bless you. You're going to need God to bless you because you are on your own personal mind trip. Most people I know think that the most important, compelling narrative that's ever been told at a table was their own personal greatest experience of playing Dungeons and Dragons or some other sundry RPG. They don't give a shit about what some other people played. You ever hear of an anime called Record of Lodoss War? It's based on a replay of some Japanese people who played Dungeons and Dragons. And they were like, oh, our Dungeons and Dragons game is so awesome, it could be a story. So they wrote it down. And then eventually that Let's Play turned into an anime, a manga and an anime called Record of Lodoss War. And it also turned into the first native Japanese TTRPG called Sword World. And by the way, the biggest TTRPG products sold in Japan are these things called replays. They're all like they don't watch a lot of like the way we watch like Let's Plays like Critical Role. They like to read them. They're called like light novels or they're called replays.
Everybody's else is like, oh, behave like a convent candidate. Oh, you're a nun. Oh, thanks so much. You obeyed every. You were so respectful, kind, and tolerant to everyone. No one cares. No, you didn't write a compelling narrative. You wrote an extremely forgettable, useless narrative that nobody has any desire to watch or see, right? And so, this is that's extremely important to say. No one cares about what you just accomplished or what you did, right? Mechanically. And so this is the point.
That has nothing to do with mechanics, by the way. You're using words crazily haphazard. There's no way that I know what your LinkedIn says you do for a job. There's no way that you're functioning at work, dude. There's no way that you're still at work. There's no way that you're still fucking married. There's just no way that you're functioning at a job. Even if your job is remote, there's no way you're functioning at work. I just can't believe it. I mean, I don't know what's going on with you, but there's just it's impossible. It's hard for me to believe that you're functioning at work. If you're it's what I know about what you do. It requires logic. It requires focus. It requires systematic application and follow through, and it requires logic. There's no way you're functioning at work, bro.
Is we reach this point where we're like, oh my gosh, everything in the DMG is wrong, right? And Orion Akaba comes forward and says, no.
If you're saying that everything in the DMG is wrong, then you're telling us that your hermeneutic analysis of the DMG rule books indicate that it's all wrong. So then what do you give a shit about D&D? So you're telling us that you've gone through the whole thing and you no longer care about D&D? Fuck WotC, fuck D&D. What do you like? What are you into, like narrative game, like freeform narrative gameplay now? What do you want to go play FKR style now? We'll play MAR Barker style. We'll just play 2d6 against 2d6 perfected.
No, if you want done, and this is the great part about Orion Akaba is there's all these,
and he's fully, like, you can see he's not, his hands are not on that fucking wheel of that car.
Guys, they're sitting in the Dungeon Master Guide. They're being told to us by the design team. They're being told to you by every single D&D commentator channel, right? Oh, be respectful. Do a session 0.
They're absolutely not. There are plenty of fucking OSR YouTubers. There are plenty of fucking politically incorrect YouTubers who are like, fuck, consent rules. Fuck, safety tools. Fuck all that shit.
You need to cut out trauma from your game. And Orion Akaba's lies. Ridiculous, stupid, outrageous lies. Okay? Trauma is the broth. Uncomfortableness is the broth of the soup. Right?
Now, what are you talking about, dude? You've lost your mind. You obviously got kicked out of tables because you traumatized people and they were like, you're scary. Get the fuck away from us, because you were fucking not taking medication and you were freaking people the fuck out.
Disrespect is the spice, right?
No, disrespect is disrespect. No one should be disrespected at a gaming table. Why? Because they come to the table to game, not to be disrespected.
And if you do this, if you cheat every die roll, if you break the rules of meta matching, if you cheat your spell slots, if you treat everyone at the table in a way that makes them very uncomfortable, then everybody in the world will make your D&D narrative the most compelling narrative ever told with Dungeons and Dragons and make everyone at the table millionaires. That's success.
Nope, that's not how it happened. That's not how it went down. But go ahead and explain things however you want to, brother. We're going to move on to the next video,
okay?
Dude.
So that's why Orion, and how do I say that quickly? Orion Akaba is the first and only player in Dungeons and Dragons history to say, you bring your whole self to the table.
Whatever, dude. Meanwhile, this is a game that can be played for players from 12 to 242. It's a game of entertainment. It's a hobby. Can you learn things about yourself? Absolutely. Can you learn team building skills? Absolutely. If you have the inherent ability to learn and to access and gain from get team building skills. There are some people who will never gain anything from any activity. You put them on a job, you put them on a assembly line, they're going to be able to do what you tell them how to do, and that's what they're going to do, and they're going to do it. And if you give them a college education and you put them in front of people and tell them to teach these kids math, they're going to do it rotely, and that's all they're going to do. And there's some people that are going to go onto an assembly line and they're going to figure shit out and they're going to learn something new, and then they're going to come off with an idea and then put it on a t-shirt and become a millionaire. They're going to figure out something about, team building, and they're going to figure out something about, efficiency, and they're going to figure out something else, and they're going to figure out another thing, and they're going to build, and they're going to stack ideas upon ideas, and they're going to be able to do that because of who they are and their inherent qualities of their brain. And life isn't fair. You know what I mean? And some people are going to flourish and fly, and some people are going to just wither and die. And some people, because of their bad brains that they were just born with, because whether you think it's just the happenstance of fate, or if you think everything happens for a reason because there's someone big and crazy upstairs with some sort of master plan, it just goes down that way. This guy's going down that way. This story is not going to end well. Take a look at the old live chat. Statutory interpretation is bear training for reading RPGs. The way he used to present as more stable, along with how dismissive he is of psychiatric treatment, makes me think that he may have had treatment in the past and then stopped. Entirely possible. Entirely possible. We move on to the next video. Oh, God damn it. I'm losing the plot here. The next one, Critical Role lead Matthew Mercer, exiled Orion Akaba, in my humble opinion. What I learned studying Orion. Community! Exclamation point. Community! Holy crap. How long has the stream been so far? Oh my God. 1 hour and 30 minutes. Here we go, folks. Wait. Don't forget to share the screen, dude. Oh my God. And I think every video, we're going to speed it up a little bit more. So what are we currently on? We're currently on 125. Now we're going to have to go up to 150. 1.5. Like, that's what we're going to do. This is video 3 out of 5. So every video we do, we're just going to have to speed it up. Just one click more.
J.Scott Garibay, and today we are going to...
And that'll just be like frenetic. So by the end, we're going to be like, ah! You know what I mean?
Talk about Orion Akaba and Matthew Mercer and Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the Matthew Mercer Critical Role exile.
Fair use, fair use, fair use. We're here just picking up the pieces. J.Scott Garaby's not long for this world because he's clearly losing his fucking mind. Okay? And we are going right along with him. It's a one-way trip to hell. Ironically, because he's apparently saved by Jesus. I thought I was too. I have a personal relationship with Jesus, though clearly, just like Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks that the Pope is going to burn. I know for a fact that my personal conception of my understanding of higher powers and entities and the great beyond means that Calvinists, Baptists, Jehovah's Witnesses, Seventh Day Adventists, Mormons, traditional mainline Protestants would never understand anything that I believe about anything as indicating that I'm going to go to any sort of good place. I think I'm a good person. I think that if there's a God, that is a good thing. If there's a God, that's a good thing. He wouldn't, they wouldn't, want people to suffer or anything. But he's clearly not helping us out in here or doing anything for me or Jay. Currently, I don't know if it's saying that J.Scott Garibay's doing wrong, or saying that I'm doing wrong, or saying that God's doing wrong, or maybe there's nothing out there. But community. It was a great show.
Of Orion Cabo, which is the most important, complex American cultural event to happen since 2015. And we have arrived at this incredibly important moment.
What a crazy, 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 crazy statement to make. Apt that we use that term. This man is losing his mind.
Where the stakes of Orion Cabo returning to the honored right hand of Matthew Mercer in the physical.
The honored right hand, honored. The dude is a dungeon master playing Dungeons and Dragons with a bunch of other Hollywood douchebags, as you've pointed out yourself. The honored right hand of Matthew fucking Mercer. If I passed Matthew Mercer in the hallway, I would body check him on principle. I have no respect for a dude who gets a baseline tan and still paints his fingernails black. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that if I saw Matt Mercer standing in front of a stairwell that I would push him. But I am saying, without a shadow of a doubt, the thought would cross my mind. If someone told me that I had the option of killing Matt Mercer and getting away with it, I know that I wouldn't do it. But I know I'd think about it. I have no shame, and not even like as a joke. I'd think about it. I'd relish the opportunity. He sucks. And everyone who thinks he's cool, they think he's cool because they're fucking idiots. This world is full of fucking idiots. The reason I play primarily solo, the reason I stopped hanging out, the reason that the big thing with me and TTRPGs has always been, holy shit, like, why is it like really not coming together for me? And it was always the other fucking players. There would always be like one or two other guys who would always say the same thing. Like, holy shit, it would be this thing, this activity, this hobby would be great, except for one fucking thing. Everyone else here is such an unsufferable fucking dorky shithead asshole fucking absolute total fucking loser. They just suck so fucking bad. I just can't wait to get the fuck out of here. I'm just going to read this book by myself because I just can't stand being around these other fucking losers. I can barely stand myself.
Chair on in Critical Role Exandria, Season 4, Episode 1, we've reached a turning point where literally, if Orion returns, millions of American male lives are saved, and if he doesn't, people die, in my humble opinion.
In your humble opinion is madness, bro. I love you. I absolutely love you. But you are in the bell jar.
That's the stakes of this. That's why I've done 100 videos on this topic, and why, despite many requests, I will not let this go. The other reason why is I absolutely am abhorrently resistant to the idea that any global corporation gets to silence any discussion. And
you're opposed to any global corporation silencing any discussion. No one's silencing the discussion. And by the way, Critical Role is not a global corporation. They're not, dude. Just because their broadcast goes out over the internet and therefore goes around the globe, or because their merchandise is drop shipped around the globe, doesn't make them a global corporation. Tesla is a global corporation. Shell is a global corporation. Amazon is a global corporation. Critical Role is not an international corporation. They're incorporated in fucking wherever, Santa Monica, California. That's where they're incorporated.
And for 10 years, the Global Corporation of Critical Role has said you are not allowed to talk about Orion Kava.
They have not. They just don't allow it on their fucking particular forums. They don't take down videos. You're just God bless you, Scott. This all happened inside your fucking brain, dude. I'm stumbling. I'm losing it. And we're only on video 3. We're on video 3 out of 5. So we're at least there.
And I think that's been unfair to him and horribly wrong and needs to stop. So all of that is here, and this is where we've landed. All right. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to talk about today. So what I'm talking about today is, how did I see this? How did I see that there's this, that like right now, right in the first half, in H1 2025, there is this opportunity for the D&D community to save millions of American male lives.
There's an opportunity for the D&D community to save millions of American lives. The D&D community, how do you define the D&D community? Is there a D&D community? Because there's a whole bunch of people who hate WotC, who loathe the 5th edition, who've hated WotC for a million years, who think that D&D hasn't been D&D since before 3rd edition. There are a whole bunch of people who are into D&D who hate you, who hate Critical Role, who think that Critical Role are part of everything that's wrong with TTRPGs today. Is D&D just D&D? Does it include people who play Dungeon World? Does it include people who just play exclusively alternative fantasy games like Pathfinder? Why am I trying to find a map through the territory that is the cranium of J.Scott Garibay in the hopes of finding a logical answer or a roadmap out through his right ear? Why is Captain Kirk climbing the mountain? Captain Kirk is climbing the mountain. Why is he climbing the mountain?
Right. And the reason why is vantage. I had a vantage that no one else had. I was able to stand from a specific position and see, right?
Madness. The belief that you are special, that you see things from a particular point of view, that you alone have a particular vantage point, that you alone see the truth, understand the truth, that self-aggrandizement, that egomaniacal belief that you are the one who understands something that no one else can see. There's a word for that.
And then, in addition to that vantage, I also realized that the simple read on complex situations is always wrong. The simple read is always wrong. And then I understood it culturally, historically, mechanically, and then finally today we talk about communitorily. Okay, communitorily, right?
Now remember, today he's already made other videos today, so he's acting as though like these other things were things that he addressed on previous occasions. These are all things that are happening today.
I understood it from the perspective of 4 communities: the Dungeons and Dragons community, the Dungeon Master community,
the Dungeons and Dragons community. Again, you can say that as if it's a thing. It's even like when people say, we as Americans, what the fuck are you talking about? Because that includes when he says the American males. Joe Biden is an American male. Donald Trump is an American male. J.Scott Garibay is an American male. I'm an American male. Ice Cube is an American male, right? So is Kid Rock, right? So is Genocide, right? So is like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so is the 4-year-old kid that was just born yesterday with a dick. You know what I mean? Like, well, not, you know, that was born 4 years ago with a dick. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like these ridiculous terms. You know what I mean? The Grand Duke Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan is an American male, as is, you know what I mean? The black separatist, you know, leader of, you know, the, you know, 1%ers or whatever. These terms are just terms we throw out and throw around. The D&D community. But the belief that he understands what this community is or understands that it exists. If he was stupid, if he was totally just dim, okay. New Yorkers, you know, New Yorkers, they have a certain way about them. Yeah, you know what I mean? And you got an 80 IQ and you think that, okay. But to the degree that I have any faith in the online university that he got a master's from, I believe that it's not a total sham. So there's been obviously some sort of friggin' thing happening here.
Community, the Dragon Master community, and finally,
that refers to players, the Dragon Master community. They're called players, dude. The fact that he has his own personal pet name for players of Dungeons and Dragons indicates that, you know, he's got his own special way about him.
The critter community, all right? Now, I should say I am not a critter, but I do believe at this point.
He previously identified himself. Hold on, I'll be right back. Hold on, I got to get another soda or I'll fall asleep here. Hey. Watch this.
The critters, okay?
Everything's got to be his own personal world. That's another thing. I'll get that later. You know, it's a statement of frustration with life here. Everything has got to be his own individual word with this guy. You're killing me here. You gotta get extra padding here because I'm my old fat ass. Bitch. I gotta have padding. The most uncomfortable chairs in the world I inherited from terrible father. Anyway.
I'm a cratter.
A cratter. Everything's got to be his own individual word. He can't just use the words that everybody else uses. He has to have his own personal fucking vocabulary, right? Because he's God's special little snowflake, right? And as a father of 4, meanwhile, I gotta tell you something. I was looking, just like Hadrian72, looking at his old videos. I went back and looked at his old videos from about 7 years ago when he was supporting Andrew Yang, and he identified himself as an engaged. Now that could mean like engaged in the community, engaged in the conversation, but he identified himself as an engaged, independent, amateur like commentator. That was like 7 years ago. He was just identifying himself as engaged. There's like a lot of things about his biography that don't add up. Now, there's a lot of people that don't wear wedding rings, because my uncle never wore a wedding ring because he was like allergic to metal. But J.Scott Garaby's never worn a wedding ring, and his car is pristine, right? And his car, this could be a new car, but he had another car that had stickers on the back for like different universities. This car is fucking pristine. Now, there are different people that maintain their cars in different ways, but this guy doesn't seem like one of those guys. I don't know, dude.
Interested in the activity of Critical Role, not necessarily. I'm not a fan of it, right? I'm a studier of it, right? And I've studied it. I'm an observer of Critical Role. I'm not actually a fan of Critical Role. That I should make that clear. Okay, all right. So here we go.
That makes no sense. I almost feel like you don't watch Critical Role and you don't watch Critical Role and you don't see a lot of episodes, which is part of this reason why you think that Orion Akaba was on 73 episodes, because you're not aware of that. Whatever.
So let's talk about understanding this situation, this complex American cultural event from the perspective of community, right? So first of all, one of the things is the critters, right? The critters have so many things wrong about this situation. They're like, Critical Role is about friendship. And I'm like, no, that's a complete and utter lie.
How would you know what the critters are like? First of all, the critters would be defined as any hardcore member of like the Critical Role fandom. Like you've talked it's like stereotypes. Metalheads are like this. People that are into hip hop are like that. Black people are like this, but white people are like this. Have you ever noticed that old guys are like do 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 do, right? But white women are like like it's the stupidest thing I've ever fucking heard. Are you fucking kidding? You can make me look like this big an asshole on fucking YouTube? Can't bottle of soda? Are you serious? Gonna make me look like this? Are you gonna make me look like an asshole? Are you gonna make me look like an asshole who can't open a fucking bottle of soda, man? Are you seriously gonna break my balls, dude? Are you serious? Orange cream, Coca-Cola, zero sugar. Are you gonna give me a fucking hard time? I'm gonna play this video so I don't look sad. Come on, are you serious?
This is about friendship. How on earth, if we should believe that any of them were friends, how on earth can we believe that they simply exiled one of their friends immediately because they had some personal problems? That doesn't seem like friendship. And if their friendship was as thin as a gossamer veil for Orion Akaba, then doesn't that mean that all of their friendships are actually superficial and performative, and that what you're really looking at is a group of Hollywood celebrities who are gathering together to tell a story together, and that all of this is commercial and none of this is about friendship?
Oh yeah, hold on.
So looking at that first community, their entire interaction with Critical Role is based on a lie.
Right? I see you now. I wasn't looking at the live chat.
If you could just exile your friends when they hit a rough patch, then my counter is
Xnard Prime. You know I love you, baby. I can see that. I wasn't looking at the live chat, honey. Hold on, let me come back to you, honey. Hold on, I'm coming back to you, kid. Boop, boop, boop. Xnard Prime, joining us in the live chat. Let me come here. J.Scott 12-4. Oh, it's been a while. J.Scott Garibay is in his bubble of melodramatic, diluted diatribes. Okay, he doesn't respond to any of his real critics. Scott is very likely a Pisces sun, born with a moon in Aries. Orion Akaba is born 10/14/1980. And Sacha Baron Cohen is born 10/13/1980. Ooh, that should give you a clue he doesn't give a fuck beyond baiting and annoying people. I made a big post on my RPG Resource Roundtable.wordpress entry. Okay, very nice. Scott Garibay, the locale king of the hobby, the glow genius gem videos of half-wit dork. Are you a Virgo like me, Blueberry Wolf? No, I'm a Leo. At DM James made a hilarious video called D&D 6E has a racism problem. Meanwhile, DM James is the biggest racist anti-Semite out there. Okay? I can't stand DM James, but it is what it is. I can see your comments now, X9 Prime. There you go. I wasn't looking at the live chat. I apologize for that. But DM James is great. DM James once made a video where he was like, I know that people are accusing Jeffro Johnson of being an anti-Semite. He's not an anti-Semite, and I'll tell you why. And then he immediately made a video, 45-minute video that did nothing to exonerate Jeffro Johnson of the Bro SR, but did nothing to exonerate him, but merely did show that DM James was obviously just a raging homophobic, transphobic, racist, anti-Semite himself. God bless him. God bless him. I used to subscribe to DM James with the intent of covering DM James, much like I'm covering J.Scott Garibay today, but I just couldn't do it. He makes, unlike J.Scott Garibay, who just uploads an hour worth of content a day in these like 5-minute, 6-minute chunklets, DM James just will stream like for like 24 hours a day. I just could never do it. Excuse Sacha Baron Cohen is born 10/13/1971. Anywhere there's your beyond Andy Kaufman mental mindfuck, that's Scott Garibay is. Well, it would make sense if Scott Garibay was a born on around a similar date, but I get it. He's certainly aligned with Orion Akaba, and it certainly would make sense from the sense of him saying, "I am Orion Akaba." Right there, you go. We'll see. Here we go.
Friendship is, period, end of sentence, right? Like, and it means that somebody needs to come along and say, oh, well, if you guys are being serious about that friendship part, you need to return him to the table. That's not a debate. It has to happen, right? Especially if you're
because friends can never break up with friends.
Right? And again, that's the other thing is if you ask critters, they're like, oh, they're incredibly progressive. They're allies to many marginalized groups. Are they? Are they allies to even a single marginalized group? Or are these guys as commercial as the deepest hedge fund manager, right? Like,
meanwhile, you are on record as saying that as an American, you think that the thoughts and beliefs of Americans matter more than the lived reality of anyone in any other international country. You yourself are on the record as saying that it wasn't until you saw the movie Sinners this year that you had seen a image of an African American person picking cotton in the sun in the South, right? You strained to think of a different black director other than Coogler. The only one you could think of was Tyler Perry, right? You accuse people of that which you do. God bless you, son. But that's okay because clearly you're going through some sort of mental sequela. It is what it is, brother.
And I think that very well may be the case, right? Like right now, seeing how they've treated Orion Akaba, I do believe that we have this situation where, yeah, like they're different. I do not believe that anyone on Critical Role are friends at all, right? I believe this is a very commercial, very corporate structure, which has proven to be massively successful in making all of them millionaires, right? And that would 100% explain why they can cut out anybody they need to at any point, right? Like that.
They cut out a dude 10 fucking years ago, man. It is what it is.
That is consistent, right? Like, but it is not consistent to believe for 1 second that any of the Critical Role people are friends based on how they treated and are still treating Orion Akaba. Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, the Dungeons and Dragons community. So one of the things is, So one of the things that's interesting is the Dungeons and Dragons community has this opportunity to make a demand of Critical Role. Wait a second. What's the demand? Return Orion Akaba to the table. He's an American male. He made mistakes, and now he needs a second chance. This is a massive pattern in American males today. In fact, we have this thing called deaths of despair that happens literally every day. Right? American males make mistakes, and the world's like, oh, you used to grind to be useful. Now you suck, and you're being exiled. Right? And
that's what makes me think this dude lost his job, right? Or he's gone divorced or separated from his family. Because it's this fixation on this American males and death of despair and being exiled and this whole thing. And it's happening today. You know what I mean?
And right now, literally, Orion Akaba is like, they're like, we don't care where you go, just not here, right? And that's what
it's this, because whatever happens with Orion Akaba happened 10 fucking years ago.
That's how American males die these deaths of despair. People are like, oh, you're exiled, we don't want you here. And then American males like, oh, there's a dumpster in this dark alley. I'll just go there at 3 a.m. and then they freeze to death in the middle of the night. And people are like, oh, did you find another body? Great, throw him in the pot.
Yeah, because that's what's happening. Did you find another body? Just throw him away. Meanwhile, dude, people die. The thing with American males and the death of despair is a lot of it's contributed by the loss of manufacturing jobs in America, the loss of jobs for people that don't have college educations, the increase in jobs that require more and more sophisticated information handling and technology handling capabilities, the loss of employment opportunities in general, fentanyl, other drugs, other opiate drugs on the marketplace, the lack of availability of quality mental health, veterans from the Middle Eastern, the never ending war in Iraq and Afghanistan. There's a whole bunch of things that are contributing to the deaths of despair.
American, and that's American deaths of despair. It's like, and it only happens with American males. Like people are like,
it doesn't only happen with American males, also, and also just understand that this deaths of despair thing that he's fixated on was kind of like, it's like a catchphrase, and there's a lot of different things that are happening in America that are affecting a whole bunch of people.
Oh, you're a woman, you have a problem? Oh my gosh, everybody needs to fix this, right? Oh my gosh, a woman died. You need a Netflix special, right? Like
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like MGTOW, right? Men go their own way, like the men's rights movement. And it's also, he's accusing, Critical Role of being, so horrible and horrendous. And then here he's going to go on this thing. Men are the only ones with the problem, but women, if women have a complaint, they're immediately taken care of. That is false. I'm not saying that there isn't a problem with depression, suicide, alcoholism, and drug abuse, and men falling through the system. But if you're thinking that women don't have a problems in America with access to reproductive health, access to quality mental health, access to education resources, access to health resources, and they don't have a problem with falling through the economic cracks and falling into homelessness and falling into problems and having problems with suicide and depression and things, you're absolutely incorrect. But the fact that you see it that way indicates to me that there's a story that we're seeing here with you about how you're perceiving the world, and you're telling us about something else that might be going on in your reality.
Like everybody's got to see the best pictures of you, right? Like, whereas again, American male dies in the middle of the night, nobody cares, right? It's
of course people care that American males die. You care. I care. People care. The people who care when people die, regardless of their gender. The people who truly care about the dying, whether the people that are dying and suffering are black or white or Asian or East Asian or male or female or trans or young or old or American or foreign born.
This is a very real problem, right? And so now Orion Kaba has become this talisman, right? And if the D&D
to you, he has become this talisman.
And now the D&D community can make a demand.
But they won't, because the D&D community is not a solid community. They're not watching Critical Role. They want to play a game of Dungeons and Dragons. They want to play Pathfinder. They want to play games based on Power by the Apocalypse. They want to play games. They don't give a shit about, it's not that they don't give a shit about saving lives, but they're out there, they're either fighting each other and going for each other's necks, because some of them, are die hard committed to supporting a person that other people consider a fascist, or other people are desperately trying to figure out what they're going to do in a world where they think that, the countries are falling apart because they think that the democratic constitution is being threatened. They're not going to fixate on the problem being solved by Orion Kaba, an individual who was fired from a stupid streaming show, being returned to Critical Role. And you, sir, have to go get mental health. The fact that you think that that's what's going on indicates that you need to go get mental health. Or if you don't, you will become one of those males behind the dumpster. Not because no one cares about you, but because you are spiraling. And I'm saying that as someone who needs mental health himself to maintain, not because I'm a loser or broken or stupid or wrong or dumb or this or retard, but because that's just the way that, the reality of my brain works is. Because I have CP, I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder because my dad was a fucking terrorist and my mom had her mental issues and couldn't, and had her own problems, and the house was an absolute war zone. And I have ADD and this mood stabilization thing going on. And it got better when through meditation and therapy and pharmaceutical intervention, my life changed, and getting sober and stopping self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. And if I hadn't, I don't know what my life would be if I just kept on like I was. And I know from talking to professionals and dealing with other people who don't get help and looking at the research and looking at the reality and reading books and doing things and knowing and understanding and talking to people and, experiencing life. If you don't get help, this is only going to get worse, sir. This is only going to get worse. And I can't believe that you're really going to church and no one is telling you the same thing that the people in the comment section are telling you. That no one is telling you, dude, you've got to talk to somebody. That no one is telling you that you've got to talk to somebody.
Demand of can make this demand of critical role, and they're like, okay, listen, we can demand this of you for several reasons. One, you're presenting as progressive, so we can tell you, why don't you actually be progressive and help somebody who is a member of multiple marginalized groups.
Why would they help that one dude? Because, like we said, just because you're a member of a marginalized group doesn't mean that they have to help that one particular person if that one particular person burnt them. If they're helping other people. And, dude, you keep on saying members of marginalized group. If there's a member of the, there's not an obligation to help that one person.
Which you're pretending to be, right? Like, so, yes, we can demand this of you because you're presenting as progressive.
Meanwhile, you've tried to present as progressive.
Second, we can demand this of you because we've made every single one of you millionaires. We've liked and subscribed and shared, and now you're all millionaires, so we can demand.
We've liked and subscribed and made you all millionaires, so now we can demand this of you. This is like the stalker who shows up at the celebrity's house and be like, I bought all your albums, so now now I get to hang out with you. It's insanity, bro. You need help, man.
Demand this of you, right? Like, and then last, we now understand that parasocial relationships, right? We make you a millionaire, you give us what we want. It's
dude, that's your understanding of a parasocial relationship? Then you understand nothing about parasocial relationships. That's like, I understand how psychotic obsessions with celebrities work. That's why I'm here, Madonna. Don't you get it? I'm obsessed with you. I'm your obsessed stalker fan. So now you have to marry me. What the fuck?
Transaction. Parasocial relationships are transactional, right?
Parasocial relationships are not transactional. Parasocial relationships are delusional. They're imaginary. They're fantasy relationships that come to be, they come to exist within the minds of the fans of celebrities. They don't actually exist.
So that's the D&D community. The other part is there's the Dungeon Master community and there is the Dragon Master community, right?
The fact that you even keep on saying the Dragon Master community like it's a fucking thing. You mean people who are players of Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeon Masters are saying, okay, Matthew Mercer.
They're not saying anything. Dungeon Masters are not saying anything. They're not collectively saying anything.
Is the model of how you Dungeon Master.
No, they're not. I hate Matthew Mercer. Many Dungeon Masters hate Matthew Mercer. They call it the Matthew Mercer effect, and not in a positive way. Some people say, oh, it is a good thing. Some people say it's not a good thing. And some people say, who's Matthew Mercer? Never fucking heard of him. A Dungeon Master is technically any fucking kid or anybody who picks up a book of Dungeons and Dragons and be like, oh, some people got to play this role, some people got to do this thing. I guess I'll be the dungeon master. Okay. You approach the shores of the plains of Phandelver. What do you do? What do you do? Like, it's a fucking thing. Like,
that is absolutely happening. It's called the Matthew.
The umpires of the world unite and say, we're sick and tired of you guys fucking throwing balls in our directions.
Mercer effect. And then Dragon Masters, I'm the only one to do this, but I'm saying, hey, we need to make it hyper clear right now that no dungeon master can ever take any player character and make any decisions for them ever, for any reason. And the reason
and no dungeon master can ever play. You're saying that no dungeon master can ever make a decision for any player character ever. Like what? Like, oh, I'm sorry, that roll didn't go in your way, so your character dies. We get it. We get it. You want things to go your way 100% of the time at the table, which is why no one is ever going to fucking play with you until you go on the fucking meds, go to therapy, become a better person, then come back to the table, and then maybe people will want to play with you, dude.
Reason why is if we don't make this clear right now in 2025, right, then player characters don't exist. They don't exist. All that exists is simply all that actually exists at that point is non-player characters that have simply not been seized by the dungeon master.
You're the only one with this problem because you're the only one with this problem currently. The problem being the individual manifestation of madness that is currently occurring in your cranium. Go to a therapist. Go to a qualified mental health professional. Get diagnosed. They will give you medication that will help, maybe, possibly bring you back to planet Earth.
We don't reject what Matthew Mercer did in episodes 28 through 72 of Vox Machina, then Dungeons & Dragons fundamentally changes forever, right?
What?
And basically, we've been saying, hey, there's this narrative structure that is absolutely incredible and completely unique. There's nothing like it in the world. A dungeon master brings a framework. Player characters raise their eyebrow and crack that framework in half. And then both the player and the dungeon master are interrupted by the dice, right? And then if what Matthew Mercer did from episode 28 to episode 72 of Vox Machina stands, then we can all pack it up. You can get rid of, you can just put your DMG back on the shelf and never pull it down again. And the reason why is Dungeons & Dragons is not a transformative narrative process. It's simply just another type of novel, right?
This is only happening for you, bro. Everyone else is playing Dungeons & Dragons just fine. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's a rock and roll adventure. And you've got bigger fish to fry. Your problems have nothing to do with Orion Akaba, nothing to do with Matthew Mercer, and nothing to do with the hermeneutics of understanding the Dungeon Master Guide or Dungeons & Dragons, which you don't seem to understand at all. It has to do with you needing to get help.
Source, uninterrupted by the dice and uninterrupted by players.
Whatever,
right,
dude.
At any point, right? And it's useless. It's literally just a crappy novel, right? And so there's so much here. And the only way you can understand this situation
you found
is by
it.
understanding the
Here you
four
go.
communities that are connecting to this.
If you want to psychoanalyze Scott Garibay, it helps to understand astrology. Date of birth 3/8/1970. Interesting.
Of Orion Akaba from Critical Role. Every single word you just heard in this
So
video.
you're 1974 born son Leo. So is Mark Passio, and this is a lady named Jewel Mayberry, who's kind of a feminist bitch, but a genius at truth.
Hi, friends. It's your pal, Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons. We're going to talk about Orion Akaba, and we're going to talk about Matthew Mercer's exile of Orion Akaba from Critical Role. And today, our subject is what I learned from Orion Akaba. And that lesson, one of the lessons I learned from Orion Akaba is a human container of wisdom. If you study Orion Akaba, you will become a better person. No two ways about it, because he is an American cultural icon that studying his life has many, many lessons to give. Previously, the only person that I'd really
goes on diatribes. Aries Moon. I know the personality.
Yeah, the largest force in my life.
Well, let me do this. Hold on.
On the secular side,
next video.
The largest
X9 Prime. I'll tell you this. X9 Prime. I'll tell you this. If you want to, you can look up J.Scott Garibay on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, he is not a DoorDasher. Not a DoorDasher by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know if he still currently has the job he's purported to have on LinkedIn. But he's not a DoorDasher. Not a Door Dasher. It is what it is. The next video up is Critical Role. Lead Matthew Mercer exiled Orion Akaba, in my humble opinion. What I learned studying Orion Akaba, seal clap. This one, he's going to go absolutely. He is going to go. I think this is definitely a Spurg out. And he is going to be hypercritical of people that do not agree with him. Okay. If I speed up the videos anymore, we would be going to full on double time. And that would be mass madness, you maniacs, because he's already going to go kind of hyper on this one.
Hi, friends. This is your pal, Scott Garibay. And today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. And we're going to talk about Orion Akaba. And we're going to talk about Matthew Mercer's exile of Orion Akaba from Critical Role. And today our subject is what I learned from Orion.
So same shirt so far. So all these videos appear to be filmed on the same day, which would be today. So if you add up the hour, the time that these videos were recorded, we're past the point of thinking that he's commute. I used to think that he was when I first started doing these analysis videos, I was saying, oh no, he's not doing DoorDash. He's got this job that I see that he's got on LinkedIn. So he's commuting to work. He films these videos on his way on his commute to work. And he then uploads them when he goes to work. That's what's happening. But it's definitely not a commute because he's driving all over the place. One of our viewers noticed that he seemed to, on one of the videos, he was just making all right turns, like he was just circling one neighborhood. He might be driving around aimlessly. We are at that stage of obsessional watching of J.Scott Garibay.
Orion Akaba. And that lesson, one of the lessons I learned from Orion Akaba is a human container of wisdom. If you study Orion Akaba, you will become a better.
But we can see that this is what, is he doing DoorDash? He doesn't seem like he's doing DoorDash, but we do see like he's that on that video, he definitely seems like he's leaving some location, right?
Person. No two ways about it, because he is an American a cultural icon that studying his life has many, many lessons to give. Previously, the only person that I'd really, so of course I'm, this is all in the
now this is getting crazy. Orion Akaba is an American now, like Freudian slips. I think he meant to say an American cultural icon, but what he said was an American occultural icon, right?
Secular side. On the sacred side, I'm an evangelical Christian, and the largest driving force in my life is Jesus Christ, right? On the secular side, the largest driving force in my life is Gary Gygax, right? And I thought it would end there, but essentially, and I've continued to look for the second Gary, right?
Continue to look for the second Gary, right? Now, bear in mind that if the leading life and force in your life is Jesus Christ, you need to understand that I'm not one to tell another person how to live their spiritual or religious life. But if we go to like kind of stereotypes, if we go to generalities of how we understand how things may be supposed to work, or how we've been taught how to expect things to work, then you might say to J.Scott Garibay, hey, if you think that you have this guiding principle in your life like Jesus Christ, and the principles that are tied up in the idea of what it means to be an evangelical Christian, then what does it mean to have like a secular equivalent And why would you be looking for a second Gary Gygax? And why would you be even engaged in this activity of playing Dungeons and Dragons? And why are you talking more about Dungeons and Dragons than you're talking about Christianity or the Lord Jesus Christ or the power of salvation? And more importantly, if you have Jesus in your life, why are you getting so fucked up about any situation involving such a petty, mundane, worldly concern as Orion, some events on a streaming show like Critical Role? And if you thought that there was a problem with Orion Akaba, why wouldn't the solution be not returning to Critical Role, but wouldn't the obvious solution be salvation through the blood of Jesus Christ? And why would your solution to the deaths of despair of millions of American males possibly be resolved by Orion Akaba returning to Critical Role and not salvation through the Lord Jesus Christ? And if that doesn't occur to you, can you really say that you know or understand the Lord? And might that also point to the fact that there's a problem here?
Orion Akaba is the second Gary, right? Gary told
Orion Akaba is the second Gary.
people how to dungeon master. Orion showed people how to dragon master.
Orion Akaba showed people how to dragon master. Again, that means how to play. Orion Akaba, that by J.Scott Garibay's concession, cheated on die rolls, made other players at the table uncomfortable, cheated on his spell slots, etc., etc., etc. In other words, was by definition a bad player, but yet he is the second Gary. He is the paragon of what it means to be a player, insofar as he was, by definition, a bad player. If that sounds crazy, it's because J.Scott Garibay is, in my estimation, losing the plot, losing track of reality, not making any sense because he is in some sort of manic phase.
You bring your whole self to the table as a player. You pour a player character is nothing but a vessel you pour yourself into, right? And then when you pour it back into yourself,
it's actually not. It's called role playing because you're supposed to be playing someone else.
You have part of that identity stack which you created. Okay, all right. But what I want to talk about today that I learned from Orion Akaba is that communicating an idea alone, the value of it is limitless. It is the most valuable thing you can do. Okay.
Communicating something alone, the value is limitless. This is going to be this is like the reason I'm doing drugs is that it makes me creative. I can't quit drinking. That's how I write. There's a value to this. The reason why I'm doing this, the reason why I'm engaged in this antisocial, terrible behavior is not because I'm addicted. It's because I'm on a quest.
What do you mean there, Scott? Well, I realized the truth about Orion Akaba, that Orion Akaba was not the villain. He was the victim, right?
No one would say he's not a villain or a victim. He's a dude who got sacked from a minor streaming show that really, in the real world scheme of things, doesn't matter to anything. It's not war. It's not famine, death, or disease. It's not the birth of a child. It's a fucking streaming show about Dungeons and Dragons being played by other people. Right? It's pornography of Dungeons and Dragons, right? If pornography is watching people do something you would like to do yourself, i.e. have sex, then Dungeons and Dragons is an analogy of that, but of role-playing games. It's people watching people play role-playing games. Holy fucking shit.
So for 10 years, Critical Role is like, oh, Orion Akaba is a villain. Cheated on dice rolls, made every single person at the table uncomfortable. It's a problem player, right? He's the villain.
Again, not what happened, but we're in his mind, so let's go for the trip.
And Critical Role, every single member of Critical Role has been like, oh, Orion Akaba is the villain. That's why we had to exile him, right? You're like, wait. You said he was a villain, but then you kept Tiberius Stormwind. You exiled physically.
They didn't keep Tiberius. They kept him around for like, I'm not going to do this again. We're not repeating ourselves just because he is.
Orion Akaba at episode 73, but you kept his original arc, his original character, and his original.
Again, they did not get rid of him at episode 73. They got rid of him at episode 20. This is insanity.
Labor for 10 years, and you prominently displayed it to people to increase your own wealth.
Nope. Didn't happen. Only in your mind. Go get help or don't. And we'll see you in the funny papers. And I'll be like, I told you. I said it would happen. Look, it happened. Here you go. Now I'm going to sell your death certificate online on a t-shirt because we were all there. Wouldn't it be great if he listened? He didn't listen. Now he's a stain.
For a decade. Orion Akaba is not the villain. You are the villain, Matthew Mercer.
No one's the villain. This is not a villain and hero thing. No one invaded a country. No one did anything to anybody. Someone got fired from a show. Not a big deal. Relax.
You are the villain, Mercer Wright. You are the villain, Travis Willingham. You are the villain, Laura Bailey. You are the villain, Ashley Johnson. You are the villain, Sam Riegel. You are the villain, Liam O'Brien. You are the villain,
You are the villain, J.Scott Garibay.
Jaffe, double for you.
You are not the father.
You're the worst. All right. They're the villains. Right.
They're not the villains. They're the father. You're the baby.
Right. So that's where we wrap. Okay. Now, I came and I was like, Orion Akaba is not the villain. He's literally the victim. Okay. And then people are like, whoa. How dare you, Scott Garibay? How dare you say such a thing? And
they were not like that. They were like more like, Scott Garibay, what you're saying makes no sense. Why are you saying this? It's crazy talk.
I'm like, well, I dare. Yeah. And they're like, wait a second, Scott, you can't say this. You know why you can't say this? No one's seal clapping it. Scott, you got 900 views.
Yeah, they're not seal clapping. That means like, that's like if anyone agrees with anybody else, they're just seal clapping like seals. He doesn't want that. So he's proud the fact that he's standing by himself like a lone. You're not like the Lone Ranger or like the one, whatever, dude.
On this video and not a single like. You have to stop saying this. You're not allowed to say things that people don't seal clap. Where's the seal clap? Right?
Where's the seal clap? You can't say things that people don't agree with. No, people are telling you you're making an ass out of yourself saying crazy things, dude. And you're like, it's good that I'm saying crazy things. It means that I'm right that no one agrees with me. You want to say that? Okay. You don't want to take your meds? You don't want to listen to people tell you that you're losing your mind and that you're dangerous? You're saying it sounds like you're scaring people and it sounds like you're increasingly your distinct separation from reality is becoming more and more pronounced, and it seems like you're becoming more and more further and further removed from reality, and that seems like it's a dangerous thing. You don't want to listen to people's advice. You want to just keep on doubling down and thinking that's a good thing. Okay, keep on doing it. Don't get help. Okay.
People didn't just stand up and clap for you, right? People don't like this content. That you can't do this because people don't like it. You don't have likes. You don't have shares. Nobody likes this, Scott. No one agrees with you, Scott. No one agrees. You can't continue to say this. No one agrees with you.
No one told you couldn't say it. People just said you were making an ass out of yourself because you're sounding unhinged. People are literally telling you that that they're concerned for you at this point because what you're saying is not matching reality. You keep on saying that he was there for 72 episodes when he was not there for 72 episodes. There's no way to match that with reality. You keep on saying the Dungeon Master's Guide says things that it doesn't say. You literally said today that D&D officially made Legos their official miniatures. That didn't happen, dude. You're fucking losing your fucking mind, bro. You don't want to listen to people say that? You want to say that people are saying that to you because they're trying to shut down the conversation? They're not. You want to take a look at people at paintings done by schizophrenic artists who didn't want to take their medication and watch as their fucking paintings, their self-portraits keep on morphing out until eventually it says, oh, this was the last one he did before he committed suicide. Knock yourself out, kid. You don't want to get help? Don't get help. I can't save you. I can't tell you what to do.
Right? When you say something, people have to seal clap it, right? Like
no one has to seal clap it, but the fact that you even want to characterize it means you're committed to just being the lone individual who's going to just die on this hill. Go ahead. You want to die on this hill? Go ahead and die on this hill. No one knows what the fuck you're talking about. Matthew Mercer hasn't seen any of your videos. Orion Okaba, I don't know what's going on with Orion Okaba. He's not coming back to the next episode, the next season of Critical Role. What are you going to do about it?
Scott, where's the seal claps for this? This isn't appropriate. Yeah, where's your seal claps, right? And I stood alone in the field, and no one agreed. No one for quite a while. That has changed now. Check in the comments.
No one is this is changed now. People are agreeing with you. Okay, where screen cap show us where people are agreeing with you. I haven't seen one comment agreeing with you.
You'll see people right there saying, Scott, I agree with you. Orion is not the villain. He's the victim. I see what you're saying, Scott. You know what? You're not the only fan of Orion.
Right?
I'm not the only one. But for months,
the kind of
right? Months,
Orion
people were like, oh, no. No one agrees with you on this, Scott. You can't hold this opinion. And here's where we go. I have become very comfortable.
Literally, that's correct.
That there's no seal claps for it. There's no one clapping for it, right? And you're like, well, wait. What are you saying, Scott? Yeah, you're hearing it, right? People are like, Scott, you can't say this because you don't get, the community isn't seal clapping it. They're not all just standing up and going, yeah, like, where's the seal clap, Scott? You can't say something if everybody's not seal clapping it and liking it and sharing it and saying, oh, everybody, this is the best. Can't do it. And you know what I learned? You can do it. Orion Okaba taught me. You should. Not only can you do it, you should do it, right? And you're like, well, wait a second. There's a whole bunch of problems with this, right? So
Orion Okaba taught you that? Where exactly did Orion Okaba teach you that? Meanwhile, Orion Okaba, after he left Critical Role, started a GoFundMe for one of his mods and then stole the money. Orion Okaba did, his douchebag thing, started Kickstarters, took the money and didn't produce any shit. Whatever you want to do, dude.
One of the things, I was shocked, right? Everybody's coming in and saying, Scott, you can't do this. You can't say this. This is an obsession. You can't do this anymore. If people
don't tell you can't, they're saying you shouldn't. There's a difference, bro. The very fact that you misinterpret that way goes to show you just disconnected from reality. But whatever, bro.
Aren't liking what you're saying, and if they're not seal clapping, you can't do this anymore, right? Now, one, I have a YouTube channel. I want that channel to grow, right? And at first, I was like, I want to be open and transparent. I want to say what I believe, right? Well, I guess I'm just gonna have less subs, right? I'm gonna have less views. That's not the case. This is growing my content, right? Like people are coming in and.
Okay, so what? So you think that's a good thing? Hey, man, you know what I mean? Why don't you show your whole ass out there? You know what I mean? There are people that grow their YouTube content by like eating anything that people tell them to eat. You want to eat glue? You think that's good? That people are going to be your real friends?
They say you can't do it. That's what they say with their words, but with their actions, they actively promote it. Right? Like they're saying, "Oh, yes, I will comment on this. My comment is that you're wrong." Guess what? Guess how YouTube engagement works. It doesn't care if you say if we're wrong or right. Right? They're going to kick my videos out to more people. So I literally can. And
yeah, but it's going to kick your video out to more people who, like me, are going to watch you. And it's like I said, you're an LOL COW, lolcow. You want to be as famous as Foodie Beauty. You want to be as famous as J.Scott Garibay. You want to be as famous as Amberlyn Reed. You want to be as famous as Darkside Phil. Those people are infamous. It's that title of that Adam Sandler comedy record. They're all gonna laugh at you.
Now it goes even further. You should. So people are saying, Scott, you can't say that because people don't agree with you. Nobody's seal clapping you, right? You don't have 1,000 people clapping, going, "Oh, blah, blah. Thank you so much for confirming what we already believed. Thank you so much for agreeing with us. That's the only type of content that grows, right? That's the only kind." And you know what? I would be doing this even if it didn't grow. Like that's one of the things that's interesting, right? But they're like, "Oh, you can't do this, Scott." And now I've reached a point where I'm like, not only can I do it, I'm saying we've reached a point where I realize because of Orion Okaba, you should do it, right? And now we get there. There's me saying something that no one agrees with, and then there's the Dungeon Dudes.
Well, you just said that people were agreeing with you, so you're contradicting yourself. Now come up and bring up the Dungeon Dudes again.
Saying something that everyone agrees with, right? They get seal clapped right there. Oh, here's Dungeons and Dragons time. We think D&D 5e sucks.
First of all, they didn't say that D&D 5e sucks. Dungeon Dudes literally work with WotC, okay? They just said that they're not going to do their current campaign. They're going to finish their current campaign with the old version of D&D 5e before they switch over and try out their next campaign with the latest edition of D&D 5e. So you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. In your videos from yesterday, you said that Skull and Crown and Skull, which you literally did a whole campaign on, was published by Runehammer Games, Hank Furnell, but was designed by someone else, which is absolutely incorrect. Hank Furnell uses several nom de plume, several different names, but he actually did write Crown and Skull. So you did a whole campaign with an RPG book that you didn't even know that the guy who published it is the same guy who wrote it. And nowhere on the internet is there any mention of anyone else other than Hank Furnell being the guy who fucking wrote it. That's how fucking disconnected from fucking reality is. The guy who got his fucking online degree from fucking Phoenix University apparently is long fucking gone. You're fucking melting, bro. Get fucking help before it's too fucking late. Oh, but keep on doing that, cutesy pie. That's what happens. See, I started off the video trying to be nice to you, but then you do shit like that, and then people say, oh, you know what? Actually, don't go do the meds. Go fucking keep on making an ass out of yourself. We'll keep on commenting and laughing at you until you do become internet famous and everyone's really mean to you. And you know what? You're not handling it well. As we get to the next video, we'll see how bad you get, where you call yourself fucking Moses.
Seal claps, right? Seal claps from the whole community. Oh, the Pinkertons. Clap, 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 clap. Oh, we don't like OGL. Clap, 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 clap. Oh, you guys are good. Thank you so much.
The Dungeon Dudes never said that. You're conflating the Dungeon Dudes with everyone else. The Dungeon Dudes were straight middle of the road on all that shit. You are conflating them and imagining that they said shit that they did not fucking say.
For telling us what we already believed in and agreeing with us. Oh, thank you. Dungeon Dudes, you guys are the best. Everything's seal clapped. Everything gets a like. Everything gets a share because we love it. We love when you confirm what we believe, right? That's how you do it, Scott. Dungeon Dudes. And I'm saying, no. That's not how, you don't have to do it that way. You don't have to get seal clapped, right? I'm saying you should stand in alone. You should only stand in a field saying something alone, right? If you're going to stand in a field and say the same thing 1,000 other people are saying, what is the point of your content, right? And I'm tempted to say there's no point, but there is a point that serves me. Okay, there is incredible value and there's incredible usefulness to the Dungeon Dudes.
There's incredible use to the Dungeon Dudes. Now you're contradicting yourself because you don't know what the fuck you're saying. Actually, you should just make your content that you want to make because you want to make it for the reasons that you want to make it. Right?
There's incredible uses to the guys who do get seal clapped. There is incredible usefulness in this to the guys who make content that is seal clapped. And what is that? Well, people come here and not only do they say, Scott, you can't do this, they get very upset. And then they come in the comments again and again. And you know what? If you come here and you're like, Scott, this is a bunch.
So you like that people get upset. You're like the kid who's like, you don't want to be my friend, you want to be my enemy, so you want to be everyone's enemy. You play with doo-doo just to see the shocked look and expression on everybody's face. Meanwhile, you get the reputation of the kid who plays with doo-doo. Okay, go play with doo-doo.
It's a bunch of crap. I don't like it, right? You have every right to do that, right? And I don't get upset about that. You're like,
You do get upset about it. You were very upset about that. You think you're not getting upset about it? You're extremely upset about it. You're extremely upset about it. You're fucking melting down about it, actually, bro. You want to say that you're not upset about it? You're extremely upset about it. You're melting fucking down.
Your stuff's a bunch of bunk. Bye. I totally understand that. What I don't understand is coming back day after 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 day and saying, Scott, your stuff sucks and you are not smart and you're a bad person, right? Okay, why are you still here, right? And so
because that's how it works, dude. That's how the internet fucking works, bro. What did you think? Do you think that wasn't going to happen? Did you think that wasn't going to happen? This is the internet. Do you think I'm going to stop making these fucking videos? I'm not. And more people are going to make videos like this, dude. I guarantee you. The more you fucking freak out, the more people are going to cover you. The only thing you can do is stop. That's how it works. That's how this thing fucking works. It's like the alcoholic or the drug addict with drugs. You just want to drink. You just want to do the drugs without getting the negative consequences. That's not how it works. You do the drugs, you do the drink, you get the negative consequences. You lose the job, you lose the girl, you lose the life, you lose the kids, you lose the car, you lose the house, you lose everything. You want to get clean and sober? You get things back. You don't get to drink and do drugs. Oh, I'm tempted. I want to drink and I want to do drugs again. I want to drink and I want to do drugs again. You better call your sponsor. You better call your circle. You better call your friends. You better do anything else. You better do something else. You better do everything else. You better call your kids. You better find a reason. You better call on your higher power, because if you do drugs or drink again, you're going to lose it all again. You can't have it both. You're not going to have it both. You're not going to be able to do this bullshit of being a fucking public nuisance and saying all sorts of crazy shit and getting the attention and getting people watching you, and at the same time not have people come at you and have the negative feedback loop of people mocking you and talking about you and commenting about how you're fucking freaking out and scaring people and losing your mind. Because that's the reality of the situation. Just like the reality of the situation for the drug addict and the alcoholic is the negative consequences because they're a drug addict and an alcoholic. The reality of learning that people are going to give you accurate feedback of saying, you're scaring us because you're insane, dude. You're not a unique thinker. You're crazy. And you're embarrassing your family and you're embarrassing yourself.
And one thing that's incredibly helpful is if you don't like my content and it is upsetting to you, all of that is very understandable. And I totally get that, right? And I can and do. I was like, hey, I totally understand your complaints. Those are completely legitimate complaints. And I get where you're coming from. And you need the Dungeon Dudes, right? My stuff is challenging. It is thoughtful. It is upsetting.
It's not challenging and thoughtful, dude. I get what you think is happening, like the drug addict and alcoholic. Oh, no. It's not. I don't have a problem. You have the problem. You just don't get it, man. You just don't get it. You're tied down in your square, safe little world. Go back. You go back to work. You go back to your 9 to 5. Don't worry about me. I give you permission not to worry about me. I give you permission to go back to your little house with your little wife and your family. Dude, those are your nieces. What? Now you don't like your nieces and nephews? That's what I'm fucking saying, man. Don't tell me that I don't care about, I don't love my nieces and nephews. You know I love my nieces and nephews, man. I just don't need this shit right now. What do you need right now? I know what you need right now. You need to get fucking high. That's why you're fucking freaking out and saying this nasty shit about Susie and Jeffrey. Fuck you, man. Fuck you. No, fuck you. Fuck you. Get your bags. You're going to rehab again. Right? That's the reality. Because we love you, asshole. Thank God. Sorry, Scott. Not going to the Dungeon Dudes. Because I don't like run-of-the-mill D&D content. I'm not going to watch Professor DM. The people that watch me, watch you, aren't going to watch those guys either. We're just going to watch you. If you want us to stop watching you, it's very simple. Relax. You know what I mean? Find a way to stop freaking out. My suggestion would be go to a therapist, go to a mental health professional, get a diagnosis, get the appropriate medication, try some meditation, try some breathing exercises, relax. Then you'll start making boring content, happy content, and we'll leave you alone because you won't be worth watching again.
Setting, right? Go right down the hall. The Dungeon Dudes are right there on the left. And if you need content that you can seal clap along to, and you need somebody,
we don't need content that we can seal clap along to. We need content like you. That's what happens, Scott. People are watching you, not because you're challenging, not because you're thought provoking. We're watching you because you are freaking out online like a lolcow, making a jackass out of yourself, driving around Philadelphia, making a total douchebag of yourself, making racist comments, homophobic comments, transphobic comments, and sounding like a crazy person. And you're not just getting to control it on your little private piece of the internet where you can cherry pick the comment section, activate people, deactivate people. No, we're taking it and putting it here so we can have our own little space of it. And I think that's probably what's tweaking you out. And there ain't shit you can do about it because it's totally fair fucking use. L'chaim.
To say what you already believe, and you need someone to agree with you. They're right there. And that is incredibly valuable. It means nobody gets trapped here, right? And especially if you're a good commenter, right? If you can get in the comments and go, here's my opinion, right? Why stay here and complain ad nauseum, right? Go to guys who get a benefit from you liking them, right? And there is a very real need for content that produces no questions, content that challenges no one. It is incredibly helpful to those people, and even more helpful to me. I'm incredibly thankful to the Dungeon Dudes that they exist, right? Because it's a pressure relief valve on my content, because my content is legitimately upsetting.
But then you'd have no comments at all. You have no comments that agree with you, dude. You know what I mean? Well, every once in a while, someone like absolutely totally new comes in and will be like ancillary to like your main total insanity, would be like, you're right. You know what I mean? If you don't comment upon D&D, Pathfinder, or Shadow Dark, you won't be discovered, or the algorithm won't favor you.
It challenges everything you believe. It challenges every one of your values, right?
No, it doesn't. It just challenges my ability to concentrate and watch someone who's losing their fucking mind.
It is extremely upsetting, right? And so we need those Dungeon Dude guys. So there is a point to making sealed crap content, and because they do it, I don't have to do it. And I could not be more thankful to the Dungeon Dude guys. So thank you to the Dungeon Dudes, and for the rest of you, right? I'm telling you, this is the kicker. This is the really valuable part. You can stand in alone. You can stand in a field alone, saying what no one else is shouting, what no one else is saying, right? In fact, you should. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.
Okay. Before we go on to the next one, I'll take a look at the StreamYard. I mean, StreamYard, the live chat. And here we go. Ba, 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 ba. Here we go. Ba, 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 ba. Da, 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 da. Okay, as I type, Moon just went into Pisces, which is transitioning. Scott J. Garaby's son, no longer Void Moon. I don't know what the fuck he does. Scott has blocked me on X after spamming him with illustrations. He never responds to his critics that truly criticize him with the harsh truth he needs to understand. Blueberry Wolf Bridge, aka Orion Akaba is to J.Scott Garaby like Brad Pitt is to Edward Norton. You understand? Dissociative identity disorder. There you go. Fight Club movie. I get it. But Critical Role is TV drama, okay? Promotional for Hasbro and Watsy, okay? So Orion Akaba was shtick of drama, okay? But J.S. Garaby doesn't give a fuck. All right, this is Captain Obvious Pointless. I need to altogether find something better to do. I get it. They listen to J.Scott Garaby because they have morbid fascination with the spectacle he makes. A bold-faced, goofy clown and a melodramatic, deluded, goofy, chronic denial double is quite a spectacle. To be said about the counter-obsession that J.S. Garaby incites. Obsessing over J.S. Garaby is kind of a bizarre, loose-tooth masochism, okay? Fair enough. You know what I mean? It is what it is, mon frere. And I will not deny it. The postscript to the adventure remains to be seen. I may very well wake up in the morning, right after, and say, I'm full of regret from the whole watching J.Scott Garaby arc. Not referring to just this moment in time, but the whole experience. But probably not, because the whole experience will have been the whole experience. Extended moments are but moments. We are here together. And a masochist does what a masochist does. We explore our obsessions with open eyes and a willingness to learn who we are. We may find an answer.
Hi, friends. It's your pal, Scott Garibay, and today...
Now, this is the final one. We've made it to the last video. Critical Role, lead, Matthew Mercer, exiled Orion Akaba. In my humble opinion, what I learned studying Orion, isolation, exclamation point. This video is only 7 minutes and 16 seconds long. May God have mercy on all our souls.
Today, we're going to talk about Matthew Mercer's exile of Orion Akaba from Critical Role and what I have learned from Orion Akaba. So Orion Akaba has gone from being a exiled member of Critical Role to being a American cultural icon, which the study of his life.
He has gone from being an exiled member of Critical Role to being an American cultural icon. J.Scott Garibay has gone absolutely shithouse crazy. Orion Akaba is not an American icon. Orion Akaba does not even have an entry on Wikipedia. He was on 27 episodes of Critical Role before Critical Role happened, right? Orion Akaba is the Clive Burr of fucking, Orion Akaba is the Clive Burr of Critical Role, meaning like Clive Burr was the original drummer of Iron Maiden, right? He's a footnote. He's the dude who played bass on Nevermind the Bollocks before Sid Vicious joined and never played bass with the Sex Pistols. You know what I'm saying?
Will help you improve your life. Exactly like Gary Gygax, right? Orion
Studying Orion Akaba will help you improve your life to the degree that learning to be like, yeah, don't be a fuck up on a great gig and you won't get fired from that great gig before they turn into successful life story people.
Akaba is the second Gary Gygax. All right, so
he's the second Gary Gygax to the degree that being the first Gary Gygax was worth anything. You know what I mean? The dude wrote Dungeons and Dragons. Hell of a game. Hell of a game. Did it change the world? I guess so. If he didn't do it, somebody else would have. Folks, that's the reality of the situation. Realize this, folks, people. It would have happened. It would have happened. Video games would have happened. TTRPGs would have happened. Believe you me. If the nuclear bomb hadn't been invented, at the time and place it was invented, it would have been invented at some other time. If John Crapper hadn't invented the crapper, someone else would have figured out a way to flush a toilet bowl.
Let's get into this. So what have I learned from him? So I have learned how to move beyond public speaking to public isolation, right? So
he has learned how to go from public speaking to public isolation. Here we go.
So people don't, so I'm fascinated by public speaking. I'm very good at it. I love it. I pursue it. I like speaking in public, right? I want a global platform. That's why I do this.
Speaking into your camera and then publishing it on YouTube is not public speaking. It's not. Never has been, never will be.
This YouTube channel, I literally have never made a single dollar from this YouTube channel. I've never been paid for. I'm over 2 million views, right? I think for
good for you.
Million views, if you're smart, you can get $1,000 out of it. I don't want to connect money to my channel because I like this.
You could, maybe, probably not. I mean, dude, I have a channel that at one point had 5,000 subscribers. Yeah, it was monetized at one point. You get a couple million, you get money.
Brian, I can tell you right now, no one with a sponsor could have covered this, right? No, nobody with even the smallest tabletop role play game sponsorship could have covered this topic. And that's why I'm the only person.
They wouldn't have covered this topic because someone or they would have lost that sponsorship when the sponsor would have been like, oh, we sponsored this TTRPG content creator, but then unfortunately, it's not they started taking drugs. They lost their fucking mind.
Talking about it, right? Because any other channel would be like, oh, I might not be able to get my free, my free copy of Daggerheart when it comes out. So dungeon mastering is public speaking. Dungeons and Dragons commentary is public speaking. I have leaped past public speaking to public isolation.
Dungeon mastering is not public speaking. Public speaking is standing in front of a crowd of 5 or more people on a dais in front of people and doing that. It's really not like DMing. It's not really public speaking. It's really not.
Because of Orion Akaba. Orion Akaba is an exile. He's a co-founder of Critical Role. He is responsible for the #1 most compelling, most powerful narrative ever told with Dungeons and Dragons. And he's invited,
in your opinion,
to 0 conventions every year, right? No one will talk.
Because he hasn't done shit in role-playing games in the 10 years that he's been gone from that show, dude.
Talk to him about Dungeons and Dragons. He is an exile. And you're like, well, Scott, why would you want to be an exile? Moses. So I'm an evangelical Christian.
Moses. He just compared Orion Akaba to Moses. Or J.Scott Garibay, congratulations. You are absolutely 100% sandwich board. The end is coming. Fucking crazy, bro. I love you, man. I absolutely love you. I want to hug and kiss you. I want to put a shoulder around you. I want to give you a blanket. I want to have a big cookie with you and a cup of coffee. You are amazing. Dude, I'd blow you because you made my day. You just compared Orion Akaba. First of all, beyond comparing him originally to Gary Gygax, you just compared him to yourself now, I think, to Moses. You know what, dude? Let me tell you something. Let me let you into a little secret. You're not fucking Moses. And to the degree that you think you're a little bit like Moses is the same degree to which you are absolutely batshit fucking crazy. That's a pejorative term. The scientific term is experiencing mental delusion.
I've read the Bible many times, right? Cover to cover. I work all the way through. I read the Old Testament at the same level as the New Testament. That's a whole discussion. Let me not get too let me stay off tangents here. All right. So, and Moses is extremely important. So Moses, first of all, he's a killer, literally and figuratively, right? And I'll say I am not a killer, literally. I am a killer.
See, now that is real crazy talk. Moses is a killer, real killer, literally. Then you said, I'm not a killer, not literally. That's the kind of shit that'll get you a wellness check in a fucking heartbeat.
Killer figuratively, right?
You're a killer figuratively. What?
Reaper, right? Like I am, like it's important to understand Moses was a murderer. He murdered a man early, right? And God's like, you right there, murder. You're my dude. Let's get it done.
God said you're a murderer. You're my dude. Let's get it done. Yeah, well, you know what I mean. The Bible is a kind of fucked up book. It is. It's weird.
Chop it up. Let's save the Israelite people. Wait, I'm a stuttering murderer. Yeah, you're my guy. You're my guy. You're my guy. You're my guy. Right? It's important, right? Then Moses steps up. He publicly speaks, and then he leads the Israelites through the desert. Incredibly useful. Incredibly useful. Arguably the most useful thing any human ever did. Well, not Jesus was more than human, so Jesus is a separate conversation. Jesus did more than Moses. Let me say that. But the only bog standard human. Okay, Jesus was human, but not a bog standard one. Right? Like it was pretty exceptional, even among the human rankings, right? So Moses, the only bog standard human, is the most useful bog standard human to the Israelites, right? He led them through the desert, right? Then they get to the promised land, they get to Canaan, right? And he doesn't get to go in. Moses never went into Canaan. He never went into the promised land.
This is biblically accurate. Moses did not go into Canaan.
She's like, great job, you did it, buddy. Thank you, you starting murderer. I said you were my man, you did it. You were my man, right? Great job, right? But then he's like, and Moses like, yeah. Oh man, it's dusty up in this desert. Okay, Lord, I'm going into Canaan. No, you're not. No, you're not. Public isolation. So all these people went into Canaan. Moses never went into Canaan. Never set foot into the promised land. I used to really not understand who I was and what I do.
Now listen to that. He just described Moses leading the Israelite people to Canaan, but not going into Canaan himself. And then just said, I never understood myself. And he's about to say something important. And it's going to rest my case that this dude has officially, I've been making the case all fucking night, I dare say, this guy has absolutely 110% gone the way of the cuckoo.
But because of Orion Akaba, I understand who I am and what I do. I am in a public isolation, right? I'm standing in the desert, right? And like, what do you mean by that?
He's in the desert. He's standing in public isolation. He's comparing himself to fucking Moses, dude.
I went to Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. Dude came up, he goes, "Hey, Scott Garibay." I'm like, "Hey, it's so nice to meet you. It's delightful to be recognized." And he's like, "So, hey, so we have a nice conversation." He's like, "So, what panel can I see you in?" I was like, "Nope." Yeah, I said, "I could sit with you in that panel over there. I'm going to see, Professor Dungeon Master, right? I'm going to go see Ben from Questing Beats. I'm going to go see Bob Builder, right? And I'm not going to see Stephen Clicker. I'm not going to waste my time with that."
I don't blame you. I'm a fellow member of the tribe. I wouldn't spit in that guy's mouth. That fucking terrible heap. No, seriously. People talk, you know what I mean? First of all, the OGL was a total scam. Anyway, beyond that, Zionist trick to get people to buy Pathfinder. He knew that Pathfinder 2e, the revised, their version of D&D 3.5 was coming out. And yet, after that OGL thing fiasco bullshit happened, they totally let people buy all the stock issue, back stock of Pathfinder 2 books before being like, oh, well, this new version's coming out. He knew because he's the biggest third party publisher of Pathfinder material. Not that it helped Pathfinder. You hear people talk about Pathfinder? You hear people talk about Pathfinder 2 recently, lately? Pazio's about to fucking fold. You know that, right? They're fucking so dead. They're so fucking over. It's not even fucking funny.
And I'm like, and he's like, wait, they didn't book you on any panels. I'm like, I'm not a guest. I'm an exile, right? Like, I'm not. He thought I was a guest at the show. No, I'm an exile, right? Like, nobody sends me tabletop role playing games review, right? Nobody gives me badges for conventions, right? Like, like I am an exile. I'm in public isolation, right?
You're not an exile, dude. You're just like, you know what I mean? Like, who gets fucking free swag? You don't do reviews. You drive around in your car and say crazy shit. Meanwhile, the dude over at the gaming gang is like, they don't send him free shit. You know what I mean? Who gets free shit? Very few people.
And I think a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, I don't want to. And this is what Orion Kaba did for me. Like, made me feel, okay, it is okay. It is completely okay. There is no problem with standing alone in the desert, knowing you got it done. And I think that's what I'm doing here. I think on D&D commentary, I'm leading people through the desert. I am like, there are columns of fire, and I'm like, hey, let's follow this column of fire, right? It's dark, it's cold, there's no food, right? I'm going to places that nobody wants to go, right?
In D&D content, being the Moses of D&D content is kind of like being the Jesus Christ of like Chinese checkers. It's kind of like a pointless analogy because, D&D content commentary is a useless thing that no one has to be engaged in. You know? I'm like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad of LOL Surprise Doll ranking.
Right. And then at the end, I don't get to go in, right? I'm an exile. I'm a D&D commentary community creator exile. I'm exiled. I don't get invited in like everybody else. And before Orion Kaba, that was frustrating, right? But now I understand exactly who I am. I'm the Moses of D&D commentary.
The Moses of D&D commentary. Like, can we put that on a shirt? Man, I can't believe I'm not on Kick. We can't make that a fucking sticker.
Right? Yes, I have to stand outside the community. I don't get invited into the parties. Literally, I don't get invited, right? Because nobody's comfortable around, right? But the reality is, I know what I did. I know that just like Moses, I was important, right?
He was just like Moses, I was important. And I guess like it's like Jesus Christ Superstar, and I'm like the movie version, and I'm like the Black Judas. I'm like, could Muhammad move about, or was that just PR? Right?
I was a stuttering murderer.
You're stuttering what?
Stuttering man. Or like I don't even stutter, right? But I am a problem. The way that the way that Moses was. Like people are like, Scott Garibay? Yeah, Scott Garibay, right? I am
Scott Garibay. Who was that guy? Scott Garibay. There was a man once. Scott Garibay.
Right? And I'm okay with that. And I've learned to value that. That's what I've learned from Orion Kaba. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The board part is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider
I'd rather just make comments on my video, my own channel, you funny man. Holy fucking shit. Yep, well, there you go. Fuck my mom. There you go. We're done. Okay, pick a card, any card. It's 2:08 in the morning, and I have got to go to bed. This has been a 3-hour stream. 5 people still watching me. Thank you for sticking it out with me. Those who are still sticking it out with me. That was the entire content for April 22nd, 2025. It's now April 23rd, 2025. 23 Skidoo. For those with a nose for the new, William S. Burroughs, may his ghost be with you. Oh, we got 2 cards for today. Oh, wow. As they play out for me, we've got the Tower and the 6 of Cups. The Tower represents profound change occurring suddenly in a place that we once thought was secure. We build up the tower, we build up the fortress, we build up the place thinking that it's going to guarantee us security, but then life reminds us that change will occur. It will find us. We will tumble out. Let us tumble. Let it happen. Accept it. The 6 of Cups. The sweet romance of nostalgia and youth. Would it be that we could go back and experience love, the first loves, before we knew all the complications of what it could be and what would follow? Seeing these cards together reminds us that after the sudden change, we can begin again. We can tumble out and be reminded that we can leave the past behind and in the new day, a new past can begin. And it can also remind us that the past, or the desire to return to the past, is an illusion, a delusion. But if we can let go of that illusion and delusion, though it may be frightening and scary, and the note may break our hearts and may cause tears to fall, once we accept the transitory nature and accept and give into the fear of the reality of the loss of the fantasy and the acceptance of the reality, we're then free. To remember the fantasy and experience it for what it is and what it was. A wonderful moment in time, a beautiful dream, and a thing that we still have, in addition to the new knowledge that we have obtained. I love you, I love you, I love you. If no one told you they loved you today, somebody just did. That someone is me. Make of it what you will, because you will. And just remember, in a few hours' time, the good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, J.Scott Garibay will upload or begin the process of uploading approximately an hour's worth of material over the course of a few hours, starting around 10 o'clock, ending around 1 p.m. or so. Will you have had enough time to watch this video by then? What does it all mean? What's it all about? Who knows? Till we meet again.